$100,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
New year, same old lovable me. Matt Rooney welcoming you back to the first show of 2024 here on 1210 WPHT. We made it, Henry.
Yeah. Feels like I haven't seen you in a year.
It feels like it's been that long, right? Because let's see, when was the last Matt Rooney show of the year? Right before Christmas, maybe?
Yeah, the week before Christmas.
Right before Christmas. And all through the house. Not a Henry was stirring. No. But now we're back from our holiday hiatus. I had a couple fill-ins here at the station during the week, helping out on the Rich Zioli show. You weren't here. You got some time off, so it was me and Matt DeSantis. He took the bullet for you.
Well, I took the bullet for him the week before.
That's what he said.
Yeah, we worked something out.
That's what a good team does.
Yeah.
You trade off. And then I filled in on Kale and Company with Mary Walter. That was fun. And now we're here to begin, because you have to try to make it sound as grand as possible, right? This is the 4th calendar year of the Matt Rooney Show.
Wow.
Because we started in 21. So 21, 22, 23, 2024. 2.5 years of total runtime.
Yet you still don't have an ID badge.
I still have to have you come down and let me into the studio.
Yeah.
But you know what? It just speaks to my humility, Henry. I'm not one of these pompous stars of stage and screen and radio that thinks I deserve special treatment. I'll stand down there with the unwashed masses.
It's important that you can't go to the bathroom without supervision, right? You need my pass to get out and go to the bathroom.
I feel like Red from Shawshank Redemption. Remember when he gets out of jail and he's working at the grocery and he has to ask for permission to use the bathroom?
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah. That's been me for 2.5 years. It's a humbling experience. But you know what? More importantly, I am humbled to be with you for yet another year of the Matt Rooney Show here on 1210. A momentous year, by all accounts, given that we have a presidential contest bearing down on us. The first contest of that epic battle is only 24 hours away. Actually, I would say, I'm not going to do the adjustment for the time zones, but about 24 hours from now, I would think we're going to start to get the first results from the Iowa caucus, where it's about -30.
It's only like an hour time difference, right? It's just Central Time.
Is it Central Time?
Iowa? What else? I don't think it would be anything else, right?
No, I mean, you're right. It's not far enough west to be Mountain Time.
Yeah. No, I think once you get to like the Dakotas, I think.
But I don't know when polls close.
True.
And this is a caucus, so it functions a little bit differently. They get together in little groups and gymnasia all across the Hawkeye State and decide whether or not they're going with the Trumpster or whether or not they're going with Nikki Haley or whatever they ultimately decide to do. So I don't know what we're going to actually get some results out of Iowa, but if you believe the polls, Donald J. Trump is on track for an historic victory out there in Iowa. He is polling, if you believe the final Des Moines Register survey, higher than any other Republican eventual winner has registered in history. George W. Bush was polling at about 43% in the final Des Moines poll heading into the 2000 caucuses. Trump is at 48. So we're going to break this down and talk about who wins and what a win looks like and what does a loss resemble for those who are on track to take it on the chin as we progress tonight on our program. And we'll also talk about some other topics too, not just Iowa and New Hampshire, even though they are the proverbial elephants in the room. We will touch on national, local, state topics, fitting as much as we can in 3 hours is as humanly possible. And even though we are somewhat limited by the rules of time and physics, we're pretty darn good around here at fitting in a ton of content into this tiny little program that could here at 1210. By the way, 855-839-1210 is the number here at the show. If you want to call in and you want to participate, we have very high standards. This is not a show where we just like to sit on the phone all night. But if you have something worthwhile for class, we're happy to hear your best shot at being relevant. Moreover, over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT is where you can go to confirm that I am indeed as handsome as I sound. You can watch the show live just the same as you can hear it. And you can also participate in the comments, which can sometimes get a little salty and are therefore always fun. Sid is over in the comments, by the way, Henry, and says that Chicago is central. But he uses a different word for Chicago.
Yeah. I
don't think I can. No, I can't use that one.
Don't attempt it.
I'm not going to attempt it. I'm a lawyer. I should be better at that, but sometimes I'm a little fuzzy with the FCC rules. Which ones I can say, which ones I can't.
I'm okay with forgetting fuzzy, but I think that's just straight hairy.
That's just straight hairy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a peach with a little bit too much hair. It's been left in the shopping cart a little too long.
Yeah.
All right, well, fair enough. Yeah, see, even Sid is saying, no, you can't. Yeah, all right. Well, we don't want to start the new year off by getting fined. That wouldn't be good. 855-839-1210 again is the number here at the station. And I said we're going to try to cover as much as we can this evening. I promise, talk about 2024. The most controversial topic I've waded into in the past 24 hours, though, and I mentioned this to Henry when I was coming in this evening. I made a fairly simple comment on social media over the weekend that bagels, if they're good bagels, don't need to be toasted. And I set off a small firestorm over on my Facebook page for saying this. People in this part of the world, and I'm defining this part of the world, New York, south to the Delaware Memorial Bridge, and then westward over to the Pennsylvania suburbs, take their bagels very seriously. The only thing they probably take more seriously is their pizza. And everyone has very strong opinions about whether or not, it's like that old Dr. Seuss book, the Butter Batter War, whether it should be buttered on both sides or one side. People are ready to go to war over whether a bagel should be toasted or not. I am in the camp, again, that I do not think a good bagel needs to be toasted. If it gets a little stale, if it's a mediocre bagel, if it's one you get in a bag from a supermarket, which you need to avoid that whenever possible, but maybe you're heading down the shore for a week, a family vacation in the summer, so you're doing bulk shopping, so you grab a bag of Entenmann's bagels and you throw them in there. You want to toast them because they can get a little gnarly, especially after a couple days. You go to a good bakery and get a good bagel. I would even argue you don't even need cream cheese, although I do like a little bit of a smatter on there. But Henry has never even waded into this before.
No.
He didn't know this was a thing that people get their trousers at a twist over.
Bagels are a very territorial issue, which, whose water makes the best bagels and all that stuff. But no, I guess I never really thought about toast versus non-toast. Guess I've always just kind of gotten cream cheese or bacon, egg, and cheese, scrapple egg and cheese, and just went on my way.
Well, if you're putting a meat on it, that's a whole different
different thing. I don't.
Analysis,
that's what I guess what I'm saying is I've never just had plain bagels and been like, oh yeah, this is it.
Right, this is so good it doesn't need anything else.
Right.
But have you had it? Forget about bagels for a second though. Have you had bread that was so good that you didn't think it needed anything?
Yeah, it's been a while, but absolutely.
All right, so I feel the same way about bagels, and some other people do. If you find a particularly lovely one.
I hear what you're saying. It's just I don't know. If I'm eating a bagel, I need something with it. Same thing if I'm using bread, I just want a sandwich. Unless it's the bread at like the table in the restaurant.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that's the only time I'm really eating bread though.
When you're filling up, waiting for your appetizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's right there. It's just
Yeah.
like
Maybe dip in a little bit of olive oil,
Mhm.
put a little seasoning in there or something
Yep.
like that. Now, the best argument I heard for, or I should say in favor of toasting the bagel is if you are having the bagel with eggs or something like that, and you
Yeah.
want to put a little butter on it, the butter will not melt unless you heat it, obviously. So toasting it.
And it's like a
So I get that.
structural thing too. If you're putting like eggs and meat on it too, you want that firm.
Yes, but yet some give
Yeah.
in the center.
Yeah, obviously.
So I'm not saying there's ever a reason to not. It's not that there's no justification to ever toast a bagel. Want to be clear about that. If you leave tonight's 3-hour program with one message, I'm not saying you can never toast a bagel. I'm just saying that a truly excellent bagel doesn't need it. It's not necessary. But people feel very strongly about it.
Well, do you have a spot, like a bagel spot that you say doesn't need to be toasted? Is there somewhere you're going?
Oh yeah, there's a few particularly good ones. I'll give you one of my favorites over in South Jersey, because if you're new to the program, and I suspect some of you are, I am a South Jersey. I'm from the other side of the river. Moore Bagel, okay, which is kind of right on the border of Evesham and Cherry Hill. Fantastic bagels. That's a really good spot.
Okay.
Melt in your mouth. I highly recommend and stay with me on this, Henry, because I don't know how bougie you get with bagel flavors. They have an Asiago bagel, Asiago and rosemary.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, that'll play.
I feel a special way when I'm talking about Asiago and rosemary
You're
bagels.
slapping the table right now.
I am
all excited.
I am. I'm like fidgeting, sweating a little bit. Sorry for the visual, but there you go. That's how I feel about it. And of course, the everything bagel and the other stuff is all solid too. But this is what I spend my weekends thinking about. Now, don't worry, I have prep for the program. I'm ready to talk presidential politics, but I'd much rather spend 3 hours talking about bagels if Greg Stocker let me get away with it. Just like Henry would rather talk about the fact that the Cowboys are losing for 3 hours.
Oh my gosh, they're getting steamrolled.
They are getting.
Oh, it is terrible. Whatever, 47-16 now.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh,
Which is beautiful for a reason beyond the fact that you and I are Eagles fans.
Oh yeah, I mean, now I want the Eagles to win on Monday.
Right? Yeah,
I
was a little agnostic about it before.
Yeah, I've been in the camp of just like, let's get this over with. But
yeah,
these guys get steamrolled. Like that automatically means we don't play the Niners next round. The Packers would, so we'd get the winner of the Lions and the Rams. And I think if it's the Rams, they get out coached. But if it's the Lions, I don't know. Anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
It's a weak defense like ours, but
exactly.
Then again, I still don't have high hopes for tomorrow.
No, yeah. I mean, to your point, up until this Cowboys-Packers game, I kind of looked at the Eagles as that family member that they lived a good long life.
Mm-hmm.
They're in their 90s, but they keep breaking their hip or getting sick, and it's not that you want them to pass on, but you wonder in those moments when you allow your mind to drift to taboo places, is it for the best? Well, that's how I felt about the Eagles. But, the extra beautiful part about the Cowgirls getting spanked tonight, it's Chris Christie's football team. Chris Christie, or as he's known around this studio, Fatty McThunder Biscuits, is having a week, folks. He drops out of the presidential contest. And as he drops out of the presidential contest, has an embarrassing hot mic moment. Didn't even make it to the first voting state this time. In 2016, he got smoked. He was 6th place in New Hampshire and had to come back to Jersey with his sizable tail between his legs. Didn't even make it to Iowa this time. Has the hot mic moment, and now his Cowboys are being absolutely obliterated by the Packers. So thoughts and prayers to his rotundity wherever he happens to be watching the game this evening. And I think when we come back from our first break, we probably got to play a little audio from Chris Christie, because not only do we like to tease the governor on this program, but I also need to frame this whole presidential contest for you to give you my thoughts as to where I think things are going. We're going to do it in just a few here on the Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. Quick break to play some ads and make some money. and then we'll be back in just a second.
Rich Zeoli.
Every time I see you on TV, man, I got to say, you got this Sonny Corleone hair going and it looks great, man.
Thank you. Luckily, I don't have Sonny's temper all the time. And unlike Sonny Corleone, I have Easy Pass. Thank you for getting that, guys. I appreciate that.
What a reference.
Sonny Corleone at Easy Pass, he'd be alive today, damn it.
Rich Zeoli, weekday afternoons, 3 to 7. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
Don't miss the Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Don't miss Dr. Marianne Ritchie, your radio doctor, Saturday afternoons at 5. Tune in for accurate information so you can make the right medical decisions. Your radio doctor, Dr. Marianne Ritchie, Saturday afternoons at 5 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. The ugly truth is when you buy a timeshare, you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. I recently helped a couple that had their maintenance fees go from $800 to $3,200 a year. They also received a $4,000 assessment for a hurricane that was over 1,000 miles away. Sound crazy? The crazy thing is this never ends. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. Call 800-329-2121. That's 800-329-2121. 800-329-2121.
Hale and Company mornings. Rich Zeoli afternoons. Free speech lives here. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Baby. It's January, but this is making me feel very summery, Henry. How many days until Memorial Day weekend?
Too many.
Too many indeed.
Too many.
134. Actually, that's Memorial Day.
That's what you said.
So it'd be like, well, Memorial Day weekend versus Memorial
okay,
Day.
Okay.
So it's a little less, 131, something like that. But who's counting? As I walk in today and the banks of the Schuylkill nearly left me frozen like an icicle downstairs. But we persevere all the same. It could be worse. We could be knocking doors in Iowa right now. Instead, we're ensconced here in 1210 WPHD studio in the city of not so brotherly love, depending upon the day of the week and which neighborhood you happen to be hanging out in. I'm going to dig in deeply to what's going on in these Republican primaries tonight, in part because I haven't really done it yet on the Matt Rooney show. I am going to wager, even though I have not done the math, unlike my having counted how many days there are to Memorial Day weekend. I have not done the math, but I'm going to guess here, and I'll stand by this. I probably talked about the 2024 nominating contest less than any other host at this station. And part of the reason why is I just can't bring myself to get excited about a contest for second place. Who cares, right? I mean, imagine if you structured the Olympics so that you always knew who won the gold medal and they were competing for silver. I guess that's interesting to someone, maybe the family and the friends of the individual who has a chance at winning the silver medal, but who cares, right? The gold medal is what's exciting, interesting, consequential. Here, at least in Iowa, it looks as if Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley are competing for a distant second place to Donald Trump. I mentioned at the beginning of our hour, the most recent poll has Donald Trump in historic territory at 48%. Now, this is a caucus we're talking about, and there have been surprises in the past. So anything can happen, especially when it's a snowpocalypse out in Iowa, which could impact turnout. Nikki Haley is all the way back at 20%. So she's 28 points behind the leader. That's not losing the race. That's a different race. The race that she's actually in is with Ron DeSantis, who in that same survey, this is the Des Moines Register poll, is at 16%. So up until this point, I've been kind of loath to talk about it because it's just not interesting to me. And to me, that's one of the reasons, perhaps, if I may be so bold, why the Matt Rooney Show has not only stayed alive, but also grown since we started in July 2021. I don't talk about the things that we're supposed to talk about around here ad nauseum. If it doesn't interest me, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, in part because you're not going to enjoy it because you're going to tell that I'm not interested. But now, with Nikki Haley coming on strong and with Iowa 24 hours away, it's suddenly maybe interesting is still too strong of a word, Henry. But there's something to talk about now. There's an interest level that's detectable.
It's something to talk about on radio.
Yes, which is an incredibly low bar.
Yeah. Gotta have something.
But no, seriously, because look, I mean, let's frame this. I'll boil this down and then we'll work backwards. So the most likely thing that dramatically could come out of tomorrow night is Ron DeSantis could end his presidential campaign, which is something else, right? Because Ron DeSantis, kind of like Jeb Bush back in 2016, entered the race as a juggernaut. A little different this time around because Donald Trump's been the front runner since things got underway, but there was a lot of thought that Ron DeSantis, with his record in Florida, how popular he is with movement conservatives, all the good work he did during COVID and pushing back against this nonsense that's taking over our school system, the public schools, not only in Florida but elsewhere, that he might be able to give Trump a run for his money, but it never materialized for a host of reasons, one of which is it turns out Ron DeSantis is not that charismatic. That matters. And, I think I'm guilty of making this mistake, as many Republicans did. I saw snippets of Ron DeSantis fighting with the press. I was aware of his record coming out of Florida. I did not appreciate how boring his presentation was. He's very flat. And I think beginning with Jack Kennedy, continuing on forward, it's gotten harder and harder to be successful on the national stage if you're anything other than an entertainer. Ronald Reagan demonstrated that. Donald Trump demonstrates that. Even Barack Obama, who's certainly no Reagan and certainly no Donald Trump, had kind of an engaging charisma of his own, even though the man was a con artist. Plenty of con artists are charismatic. DeSantis just is missing that special sauce, that X factor. So he has decided, or had decided, to invest everything in Iowa. He's your friend that you go to the casino with for a bachelor party and decides for whatever reason to put all of his money on red 39. Pick your number, pick your color. And he has more or less run for governor of Iowa over the course of the past year. He arguably has the best organization there. He spent all his time there. I don't know the numbers, but I suspect he's probably been in Iowa on the ground at a fair, knocking doors, kissing babies and old ladies at diners, as much as he's been down in the Sunshine State where he is actual governor. And by all accounts, it's not working. If I'm him heading into the Iowa caucuses tomorrow, I like the fact that I've got this super strong organization, because when you've got a blizzard and you've got temperatures that are in negative territory, having a stronger organization can count for a lot. And if you dig into that Des Moines Register poll, Nikki Haley, even though she's 4 points up on him, the enthusiasm level is just not there for Nikki Haley in the same way that DeSantis' supporters are still digging him, which makes sense, right? Because many Nikki Haley supporters are voting for Nikki Haley not because they love Nikki Haley, but because they hate Donald Trump. She has picked up the never Trumper, anti-Trump banner in this race. And those forces, Sununu out in New Hampshire, Chris Christie couldn't bring himself to endorse anyone, but that's where I think a lot of his support would probably go. She's become a magnet for that coalition, for that faction. So, they're you want your supporters to primarily love you, to want to be with you for you, not just because they don't like the other guy or gal. But that's the space that she finds herself occupying as we kind of hit the most exciting part of this race, these initial primary contests. So, am I going to be surprised if Ron DeSantis overtakes her tomorrow in Iowa? No. But if Ron DeSantis loses, where does he go from there? Because he ain't going to win New Hampshire. And then in South Carolina, you've got Trump, who's a juggernaut, and you got Haley, who's the former governor of South Carolina. At that point, things get a little dicey for him. So, I mean, I will tell you that is what I am primarily looking for tomorrow in terms of politically consequential news. Does Nikki Haley finish in second place or third place? Does Ron DeSantis fall into third and is therefore forced to leave the contest because he doesn't have a viable path forward? Trump, all he has to do, and sometimes this is the most dangerous thing of all, Henry, he just has to meet expectations. I told you that he's polling at historic levels right now in the Iowa caucuses, if you believe the Des Moines Register poll, which is supposed to be the gold standard out there. So long as he drubs his opponents like he's supposed to, he doesn't have any problems. If he only, and I'm doing air quotes here for those of you that are not watching on YouTube, if he only beats her by 9 points, that becomes the story. And then all of a sudden, we have a presidential nomination contest that is much more interesting, and maybe I'm more interested in talking about it next week. So we shall see. We're going to find out in just 24 hours' time.
Just great stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, look, I've been saying this from the beginning. I like Donald Trump. I voted for him in 2 presidential contests, right? I think he did a fantastic job as president. I'll elaborate a little bit more on it this evening, why I think there's a good argument that he is not only the best choice for Republicans in 2024, but the country as a whole, right? But I'm also a free market guy. I like competition. So I've always thought that it would probably benefit Donald Trump if someone gave him a legitimate run for his money. I don't think a walk to the nomination is necessarily the best thing for anyone. And you can find a number of examples throughout history, recent history, when boring nominated contests have not benefited the ultimate winner. And Republicans are particularly guilty of this because we have traditionally coronated people, whether it be Bob Dole in 96, whether it be McCain in 08, Romney in 2012. There is no replacement for a baptism by fire. It's just the way that it is. But Republicans want Donald Trump as their nominee, and there's a reason why they want Donald Trump as their nominee. And you know what? Let's take a break. And when we come back, I am going to distill thousands of hours of an analysis that you've heard as to why Republicans like Donald Trump. And I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm going to make it very simple for anyone that's out there that's listening. And I know you're out there, even though you won't admit it. I know there are some squishes in the center. There are some Democrats that listen to this program. You won't fess up to it in polite company. I'm going to demystify this for you here on the Matt Rooney Show. Again, 855-839-1210. Back in a moment.
Dom Giordano.
Hey, Paul, good afternoon.
You crying about inflation. When was the last time minimum wage has been raised to catch up with inflation?
You're perfectly fine. Do you and your wife both do the shopping together? You're perfectly fine with what things cost because they're not going to go down anytime soon.
Unless you have coupons. It's not rocket science, Don.
Oh, it is. So how about the blueberries? So I should just ration the amount of blueberries I eat each week, right?
Count them up.
It's Dom time. Dom Giordano. Weekdays noon till 3 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and the free Odyssey app.
Having repairs done in your apartment should never come with strings attached, like being harassed and constantly pressured for sexual favors.
My landlord told me my rent would be free if I gave him something in exchange.
The Fair Housing Act protects you from harassment by anyone associated with your housing, including someone making unwelcome sexual advances. If this happens to you, file a complaint with HUD. No strings attached. To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. If you fear for your safety, call 911. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE, Dinovite.
It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
Don't miss Good News in Real Estate with Deanne Katsaris and Mark Cumberland at a special time this Saturday at noon. Find out why it's still a great time to buy or sell a home. Considering a career in real estate? Visit PhiladelphiaRealEstateClasses.com and listen to Good News in Real Estate this Saturday at noon.
For over 4 decades, Kitchen Magic has been transforming ordinary kitchens into extraordinary spaces. Our dedicated team is at the core of our success, combining expertise and creativity to drive innovation and excellence. We understand that your kitchen is more than just a space. It's where memories are made and cherished for a lifetime. We'll craft a kitchen that truly becomes the heart of your home. Discover the possibilities at kitchenmagic.com today. Now offering no money down, no interest, and no payments for 12 months on your kitchen remodel.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Hey, Audubon. Tell your smart speaker to play 1210 WPHT. WPHT.
Two interceptions tonight for Dak Prescott. Gruesome.
Oh, what a shame. What a crying shame. There's all this talk this year about how he didn't turn the ball over this year. But you know what? It doesn't matter. It's the same old Cowboys year in, year out.
It only matters whether you turn the ball over if you do it in the game that matters.
Yes, and they
Right?
do it in the games that matter in the postseason.
This is always
every
why
single year.
This is why I always hated Donovan McNabb. Right?
Yeah.
I hated Mr. Chunky Soup because who cares how great his stats were when every time he got to the playoffs, he choked. And then he would smile when he turned the ball over. That used to drive me crazy. Right? And by the way, for those of you that tune into this program for politics, this actually dovetails with what I'm about to talk about. But I could not stand how Donovan McNabb, this guy that we paid millions of dollars to lead the Eagles forward, right? Invested all this time, all this energy in buying his stupid jersey, buying his Campbell's Chunky Soup, right? That he used to advertise with his mom.
I remember.
And then he would smile. It was so disrespectful. And it told you something about the man's attitude and the fundamental lack of seriousness that he brought to the big games that you need to win if you actually want to have a title. Come back to your city. Drove me nuts. This, my friends, informs the presidential contest. And I said before the break, I'm going to distill for you why Donald Trump is having, at least it looks like, a very easy early going here in the Republican primary. It's because Republicans don't want to go back to the Republican Party that we had before Donald Trump. Okay? I mentioned before Bob Dole, someone who I respect quite a bit, World War II veteran, amazing guy, but still very much a part of that old guard GOP, right? That believed to a large degree that being nice mattered more sometimes than the end result, right? And you've seen a succession of these lovable losers in our Republican Party over the course of the past 20, 30 years come into leadership positions, some of them more lovable than others. But contrary to the narrative you hear at present from the Never Trumpers, the GOP was already in deep electoral trouble before Donald Trump came on the scene, and we ran ourselves into even more intense polarization than we've seen in modern America. Let me just give you a very basic example here of what I'm talking about. The squishes in our party love to talk about how, Donald Trump, we can't win in the suburbs anymore because of the Donald. That changeover was already happening before Donald Trump, if you look at the map. Republicans had only won the national popular vote one time since 1988. One time since 1988, by the time Donald Trump had become president. And Trump didn't win the popular vote famously in 2016 either. But are you telling me that a party that couldn't win the popular vote in any other election than 2004, the one immediately after 9/11, so George Bush had that proverbial wind at his back, you're telling me that was a healthy party and that it's Donald Trump's fault that suddenly we're having trouble, for example, finding a way to win in the suburbs? No, that's a movement that already had deep systemic problems, to use some language of the left we're all familiar with. That was a party that was already in deep, deep trouble. So Donald Trump comes along and, very importantly, decides that he is not going to follow the script. He is not going to honor the sacred cows. He is going to overturn the table, and he is going to touch third rails, and he's going to do things differently. He's not going to honor the old agreements. And sometimes it's messy, and sometimes he says stupid things, and sometimes he does stupid things. And sometimes, I'm going to say this at the risk of angering some of the MAGA folks out there in our audience, right? He behaves like a child, like he did in the aftermath of the 2020 election, right? And says things he shouldn't. But guess what? To quote Abraham Lincoln when he was talking about Ulysses S. Grant, we can't spare this guy because he fights. He's all we have, because before Donald Trump, the Republican Party was I'll use an analogy I think my main man Henry Hiller enjoyed. We were the Washington Generals of American politics, right? The Democrats were the Globetrotters. We'd have this game that at least was designed to look competitive, and sometimes the Republicans would be ahead at halftime, but what always happened? The Globetrotters always kicked into high gear, and the Generals went ahead and lost like they were supposed to. It was their job. And that was Republican-Democrat dynamics up until 2016, when Donald Trump said, no, enough. Enough. If we're going to win, we're going to not play by their rules, because their rules are designed to rig the game. And when we do win, we're going to actually try to affect change. This is why, if you want to look at some of these recent surveys, and I saw one poll, it might have been CBS, that said that something like 68% of Republicans nationally now prefer Donald Trump to win the nomination. That's why a supermajority of the party wants to see him returned as the Republican nominee. It's not, as the media would have you believe, some sort of cultish fealty to a figure that they idolize or treat as some sort of demigod and assign some importance that he doesn't deserve. That's not what it is. It's not some, of course they say this because they try to diminish the right and they try to slander the right. It's not some white supremacy thing. It's not some longing for a time in American history that is long since passed, and yet Republicans are trying to bitterly cling to it. It's none of that garbage. It's very simple. Donald Trump is taking the party forward and trying to make it a party that actually fights for our values, fights for this country, stands up for the people that are going to go stand out in the cold and vote in places in Iowa and New Hampshire and elsewhere, when it'd be much easier to go home after a long day of getting beat up by the corporate globalists and by the federal government and by, in some cases, their local and state governments, and just hang out at home and watch woke garbage streaming on Netflix. It'd be a lot easier to do, right? But they don't, because they believe in this man and this man believes in them. It's really not any more complicated than this. They don't want to see the Republican Party once again become a country club, Wall Street dominated coalition that, performs for corporate America. If you're a member of the National Chamber of Commerce, the Republican Party of the 90s and 2000s did a pretty good job serving your interests. Did it do much for your average mom and pop shop on Main Street? Did it do much for that entrepreneur, that sole proprietor? Did it do much for that single mom, that working dad? No, it didn't. There was nothing in the Republican Party for them in terms of actually delivering results on a consistent basis. And George W. Bush is the ultimate example of that, right? I mean, I can speak as a kid who grew up in a working class town. Both my parents went to night school to try to create a better life for my brother and I. I went to college, and I went and volunteered for George W. Bush, knocking doors. And what did I get for knocking doors for George W. Bush? We got a bunch of wars in the Middle East, which we could debate that till we're blue in the face, right? I got a bunch of quote-unquote compassionate conservative big government ideas, which just added more debt to my future and now my children's future, now that I have kids. I didn't actually get any progress towards reining in government or putting the left back in its box where it belongs. What did we get for the Bush years? Nothing. Because again, the Republican Party back then, the Republican Party that many Nikki Haley supporters are trying to reinstate, was designed to serve not you, not me, not working America, was designed to serve a clique, a Wall Street globalist clique. And I'm not even going to put all this on Nikki Haley, because you know what? She wants to be president. Like most of these guys and gals that are this ambitious and make it to the top, she'd probably glom on to whichever coalition she thought she'd get her to the top. What she really believes, I think we have an idea about that, but I'll reserve judgment until we see a head-to-head between her and Trump if we get one. But I know what Trump voters want. They don't want to go back. They want to go forward. And they're not going to compromise. They're going to turn out, and they're going to vote for their guy. And I'll put one more fine point on this. It's not because they think he's perfect. I voted for the guy twice. He drives me nuts sometimes. But again, we can't spare him because he fights. He fights for us. And that's why you're likely to see a landslide in Iowa tomorrow. Anybody that tells you it's about something else either has an agenda or their head is firmly ensconced so far up their own derriere, Henry, that they probably at this point are suffering from brain damage due to lack of oxygen, and you discount their opinion altogether.
I liked your lawyer-esque description of that. You really made it PG.
Well, we started out tonight by saying that I can't get fined on the first Matt Rooney show of 2024. It would not be a good way to kick off the new year.
No, not ideally.
So I appreciate, as the guy that has to have his finger on the dump button at all times, I appreciate you appreciating me.
Of course. I love a little wordplay on the radio.
A little wordplay. Now, I know your main man, Rich Zioli, is not a fan of Nikki Haley.
No.
Yeah, he's delivered some epic, classic Rich Zeoli rants about the former governor of South Carolina.
Yeah, he does not. Does not appreciate the work she does. I'll say that much.
Well, she has one supporter out there, and I heard someone say, I forget whether it was online, maybe it was X today, said, I've never met an actual Nikki Haley supporter. They exist. There's people that are impressed by her.
Yeah, because the news tells them to.
Well, to your point, Henry, here is Larry Hogan, the former governor of Maryland, to confirm never Trumper. This is cut number 2, who joined the Sunday show circuit this weekend. I think he was on CNN, and he endorsed Nikki Haley. Listen to this. So I want to address this head on, Henry, because you've heard this over and over again, and I've commented about it before in the program. But now that we're on the eve of the beginning of this primary cycle, it needs to be addressed. So Larry Hogan said that we need to pick the strongest nominee heading into November, and he happens to believe that's Nikki Haley. Based on what? No one has been able to answer this for me, because you'll notice that Larry Hogan, who talked for a while, that was a long clip for television. We talk longer all the time on the radio, but from television, Rich is on there all the time. Occasionally they let me go on TV. You got to be quick and succinct, little 30-second, 40-second soundbite. Nowhere in there was there any ideological or policy-based argument for Nikki Haley and why she was the best candidate to take on Joe Biden, whether it be, health policy, foreign policy, the economy, whatever. Nothing. You didn't hear it. What you did hear is that she's allegedly a stronger candidate, which you can interpret as him saying she's more electable. Let's look at the Real Clear Politics average here for a second, because if you go in for polls at all, which what else do we have to look at right now? They're the tea leaves we have to analyze. They've averaged all the polls. Donald Trump is currently ahead of Joe Biden on average by 1.1 points. Ron DeSantis trailing Joe Biden by 0.4 of a point. Nikki Haley leading Joe Biden by 0.4 of a point. Now, it's a polling average, so arguably you can put a little bit more stock in an average than a one-off poll. I recognize those are not massive differences, but that's kind of the point, right? Where is the empirical data to back up that Donald Trump is not more electable than his other leading contenders? He's doing better against Joe Biden in the polling. And I would submit to you, Henry, and everyone else listening, here's something you need to consider about these polls. In case you've missed it, Donald Trump has kind of been a piñata for our cultural entertainment establishment over the course of the past decade, right? They have thrown everything at this man that can be thrown at someone in the court of public opinion, in actual courts, on social media, in the legacy media. There is nothing they have not accused this man of and put all of their power and juice behind it. And yet still he has an edge on Joe Biden. They have not begun to dig into Nikki Haley. Now, I'm not saying that Nikki Haley isn't an impressive individual in her own right. I mean, let's face it, set aside how you feel about her for a second. You can't be a UN ambassador, a former governor, competitive in New Hampshire without having something going for you, right? But she has not gotten the scrutiny that Donald Trump has gotten, not only because she's much newer on the scene, but right now they want her to bloody Donald Trump, right? They want her to beat him up heading into the general election. So they're laying off. Do you think that that's going to continue if she's the nominee? They are going to destroy her. So her starting position, which is still behind Donald Trump in the polls in a comparative head-to-head with Joe Biden, right? You have to assume that that number is likely to get worse because Americans right now have not heard much negative about Nikki Haley. And you know, in her long public career, there's got to be something to attack, and they know about it, and they will find it. I am not trying to tell you how to vote. I'm just applying my relatively ample brain. There's better ones out there in the audience probably, but I'm what you got, to just the objective black and white facts here, Henry, right? And there is absolutely nothing to back up what Larry Hogan and other never-Trumpers are telling you about this contest. By every objective measure we have, if beating Joe Biden is your goal, if that's your number one priority heading into 2024 as we begin this new year, Donald Trump's probably your best bet.
Well, does that not automatically say that's not their number one, concern?
Henry, my man, this is why you're good at what you do.
Right.
Ding,
Ben.
ding, 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 ding. Right, exactly. It's taking the Republican Party back to what the Republican Party was in the 90s and 2000s. They want to have control of the Republican Party again. The Romney, Haley establishment class wants their party back. You dopes out there, you silly, stupid MAGA types, you ignorant fools. This isn't what I think, by the way, if you're just tuning in. I'm telling you how they think about you. You took the party away from them in 2016, and they want it returned in similar or better condition.
How are they going to make money?
Their consultants need to get paid, right? They don't have the access they used to. They don't have the glamour and glitz of being quote-unquote party leaders that they once enjoyed. This is what this is all about. And this is what Chris Christie's candidacy was about, by the way. Fatty McThunder Biscuits was running, promising to return the GOP to these people. That was the promise he made them. And, of course, that flamed out because Chris Christie, no one takes that guy seriously, least of all here on the Matt Rooney Show.
Just like his Cowboys.
Just like his Cowboys, who...
It's done.
Is it over?
It's over.
Oh, yeah. Yep, it's over. I suddenly have this wash of relief come over me.
Right? It's a nice feeling watching them just get stomped.
And now back to our point from the beginning of the hour, regardless of what happens to the Eagles.
Ain't going to be the Cowboys.
Cowboys still got to the golf course a little quicker than our guys, right?
A day early.
855-839-1210 is the number here on the Matt Rooney Show. Also, over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT is where you find us online if you want to watch as well as listen. We still have 2 hours left tonight. And in our final hour of tonight's program, we've got a great guest, frequent guest on this program, Jackie Tobacco. Jacqueline Tobacco is a school board member out in Middletown, New Jersey. Phil Murphy, King Phil the Unaccountable, as Rich Zioli would say, his hometown. She's going to join us to talk about some, surprise, surprise, more disturbing developments in New Jersey education, including a move afoot to let 16 and 17-year-olds vote in school board elections in New Jersey. It's already set to happen this year in a major New Jersey city. So we're going to cover that and a heck of a lot more on tonight's program here on 1210 WPHT. Let's take a break, fill those coffee mugs, and we'll be back in just a little bit. Don't move.
Kale and Company weekday mornings 6 till 10.
Could you imagine if the Philadelphia Eagles had a DEI initiative with their 53-man roster? Jeffrey Lurie said, hey, you know what, Howie Roseman, moving forward, 27 players have to be white or women.
Well, not just ethnicity. You could have fun with this.
Yes.
People who are short people who identify as gender curious.
Yeah. I need 9 guys on the Sixers at 6'3" and under. They're all going to be built like Nick Cale. They'd get blitzed.
Yep. Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Blast has left some scrambling for a place to get warm. WREG TV's Ashley Paul's at a church shelter in Memphis.
Any person that needs shelter, they are available to be here.
Like Antoinette, who came here with her husband and 2 young children. Her family was one of the first to arrive.
I'm very thankful because it's like whatever you're going through, this is a place you can bring your whole family.
100 million people all across the country are under winter weather advisories. Iowa is feeling the chill, but that won't keep Republicans from the presidential caucuses tomorrow. CBS's Natalie Brand is in Des Moines.
A new CBS News poll finds Trump's support among national Republican primary voters has risen to its highest level yet, even as Haley leads President Biden by a wider margin in a general election matchup.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is making the rounds ahead of the caucus. On CNN, he talked about the U.S. airstrikes against Houthi rebels in Yemen.
You can't let terrorist groups take over shipping through the Red Sea. That would have serious implications.
The Houthis said the attacks on shipping were in response to Israel's war on Hamas. Thousands of demonstrators have been out this weekend across the country demanding an end to that war. KCBS Radio's Jeffrey Schaub is in San Francisco.
Thousands are here, many waving red, green, white, and black Palestinian flags or carrying placards that read, "Stop the killing in Gaza." Didal Barakote compared the cause with America's.
Gazans today are the Americans of 1776. Where George Washington fought for liberation against occupation of the British.
It's been 100 days since the war began. 3 migrants drowned Friday night trying to cross the border. The Department of Homeland Security says Texas authorities wouldn't allow federal agents to save them. Reporter Arturo Dominguez.
Greg Abbott has basically given them blanket authority to conduct immigration enforcement, stepping in front of Customs and Border Patrol.
A hot air balloon crashed in the desert near Eloy, Arizona this morning. 4 people were killed, 1 person critically injured. Mayor Michael Powell.
We have NTSB here, and we also have FAA conducting their investigation along with the Eloy Police Department.
And after several months' delay because of the Hollywood strikes, the show must go on. I am talking about the 2023 Primetime Emmy Awards in 2024, though, of course. They go down tomorrow night in Los Angeles. Your host is actor and comedian Anthony Anderson. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility, great pay, and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone. I went through it a while back. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text CUT to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text CUT to 42424. That's CUT to 42424.
Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
Here's how some Kentucky students are making a difference.
Inspired by a TikTok trend, students at the Whitley County, Kentucky High School, including Sophie Jones, are using sticky notes to make a so-called prayer wall in their school.
Our school, along with the middle school, has struggled with suicide. A lot of people struggle with their mental health.
School volunteer Evelyn Philpott has helped students create the prayer wall.
The other day, I had seen a young female student who had one of the yellow sticky notes with a Bible verse on it that he had wrote, and it just really made my day to know that it's actually helping them.
Jim Crisula, CBS News.
The Quaker Oats recall has gotten bigger. The company first announced the recall last month at about 90 products. Now it's expanded. They've added about 40 more to the list. Among the items, oatmeal squares, cereal, Chewy bars, and Captain Crunch cereals and bars. The recall does not include Quaker Oats itself or Quaker Instant Oats. They all might have the potential for salmonella contamination. Stacey Lynn, CBS News.
Hey, business owners. Are you looking for a fast, easy way to get the cash you need to keep your business growing strong? I'm talking to Joel Bess, president of Swish Funding, and he says he has the perfect solution. Joel, what makes Swish Funding different?
Thanks, Mike. To start, at Swish Funding, we focus on your business revenue, not your personal credit score. And we're ready to help businesses with funding for overhead, expansion, inventory, payroll, or even slow cash flow. Next, whether you need $5,000, $500,000, or even $5 million, our process is quick, straightforward, and takes just minutes with funding available in less than 24 hours.
That sounds like a winning plan for any business. What does it take to qualify?
If you've been in business for over 1 year and have a monthly revenue of at least $25,000, you can get funding you need the same day.
Swish Funding really is different. Find out just how easy it is by going to swishradio.com today. That's SWISH radio.com. Swishradio.com.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Happy Cowboys Elimination Day, ladies and gents. Matt Rooney coming to you live on 1210 WPHT for another stirring edition of the Matt Rooney Show. There is no better place to hang out if you are a conservative, libertarian, Republican, or just someone with an open mind who's tired of the echo chamber that is the American media. You've got a place here on Sunday night, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, here on 1210 WPHT, and I am honored to be your host for those 3 hours every week. 855-839-1210 is the number. Also over on YouTube, if you want to watch. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. You have to make sure you have the @ in there. The Cowboys eliminated from the playoffs 48-32. No one has a defense anymore, I guess.
Well, that was their whole big thing, is you could always hang their hat on their defense, but that's only if they get ahead. And they got down early tonight, and it showed. And when Dak's turning the ball over, which he hadn't all year, you're not going to win that game. If your defense doesn't show up and force turnovers and your quarterback does throw turnovers, you just won't win. And that's what they've been predicated on all year, and that's what comes back to bite them pretty much every year, is that their whole season comes down to turnovers. And when the lights shine the brightest, they turn the ball over the most on offense, or they don't get enough on defense. I mean,
and he threw for like 130 more yards than Jordan Love.
Well,
which is remarkable, right? Back to my point in the first hour about stats.
Yeah, and that just goes to show they just had the rest of the game. They just had to be chucking it because you have to catch up somehow. They were getting crushed. But no, like their cornerback, Deron Bland, he set the record for most pick sixes in a season this year. Most interceptions returned for a touchdown. Didn't see any of that tonight. Didn't see it. No forced fumbles. Where was Micah Parsons? He was pretty neutralized. Like,
got to show up.
Got to show up, and they didn't do it again.
The Eagles consistently don't show up.
Yeah,
they don't just wait for the big game. They've been missing in action for about 6 weeks now.
The Eagles aren't going to fool anyone come tomorrow. No one's going to be like, oh, I didn't see this coming. No one who's an Eagles fan isn't like thinking that right now. Like,
that is the one thing they have in their favor, right? That expectations are in the dumpster.
Yes.
And the dumpster is on fire.
Yes.
So if they come out and they win and they look half decent,
I still
come back, kids.
Because you're going. The thing is, they got lucky. They're going up against the other worst team in the playoffs.
Right.
In the Buccaneers. And
right.
It's just, we'll see.
We'll see, Henry.
We'll see. See if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin shred him or not, but I don't have a lot.
Got to be an optimist.
No, not in. I'm very much pessimistic when it comes to Philly sports. And
maybe more of a realist. What would ever make you feel that way?
maybe a realist at this point, but like, yeah,
Although you and I may have spoken about this before. You're how old now?
24.
So at age 24, you don't have the same experience with Philly disappointment that some of the rest of us have. Because relatively young in your adult life, early in your adult life, you saw the Phillies and the Eagles win national championships.
I was there in 08.
Right. Where there are many adults, there are probably thousands of people listening to this program right now in the Delaware Valley who became old and gray before they saw the Phillies or the Eagles win a national championship.
Well, I can also counter that with I've never seen a Stanley Cup. I've never seen the NBA championship be here. Like the Flyers went to the Stanley Cup. I mean, as long as I've been alive, maybe I think it's 3 times, but I was only aware of it for one of them in 2010.
It's been a long time since the Sixers were truly
and then
fun.
the Sixers haven't. The only time in my lifetime they've advanced to the conference finals when AI was the MVP in 2001 and they went to the finals.
Oh God, you were a kid.
And I don't remember that. Like I don't remember 9/11. So
yeah.
What are you going to do? So
Right.
That's my counterpoint. It's like, I get it. We didn't win a Super Bowl for a long time. And obviously the World Series come few and far between. There's only been 2. But I've had some heartbreak. I've had some terrible, terrible losses.
I don't think you're going to find a lot of sympathy around here, but there is someone that's worse off than you. Okay.
And who's that?
Taylor Swift.
Oh.
According to Fox News, and this is an actual Fox Sports headline, by the way. Taylor Swift braves frigid temps for Travis Kelce's playoff game. That's the actual headline over at Fox Sports on Saturday.
She's up in the box with the windows closed.
She's in the owner's box. I know.
Drinking blankets and hot cocoa with Mrs. Kelce and Brittany Mahomes. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Jackson was there too. I don't know.
No, they're writing about it as if she's down on the sidelines.
Yeah. Like she's the one taking all the hits and everything. Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah. I am so tired of Taylor Swift. I'm so and this I've never been a fan, and it's not for the reason that you would expect a conservative male wouldn't like her. It has nothing to do with her politics, right? Some of my favorite artist of all time is Billy Joel. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan. Billy Joel is hard left. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's not about if we didn't like someone because of their politics, who would we listen to? Right?
You never listen to anybody.
It's her music is so emo and unlistenable. It really
emo?
Is. Yes.
I don't think that's the right word.
Yes, it's emo.
No.
Just because it doesn't all have a whiny beat doesn't mean the lyrics aren't whiny.
I understand.
Everything's about emotion and relationships. There's nothing in her music that would actually take you out of a funk. There's a couple exceptions to that. Like Shake It Off, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But it's just
well,
not
the
good.
whole album, right?
She's just overrated. People like her because she's an experience.
Yeah.
It's not because it's great music.
No, I disagree. I mean, people love her music.
Oh, I get that they like it, but it's not because the music is good.
No, I think it is because
they like
the
experience.
Good. And then the experience on top of it.
Nah, it's not it. It's not it.
I'm sure
it's not good music.
Most people want to see Taylor Swift live, but have they really? No, they have to go see it in theaters with that Taylor Swift movie that came out.
Oh, well, because you have to pay a fortune to go and actually watch it live. Yeah, the Eras tour that you just had.
So I think it's more than just a performance. I think that it helps her obviously, but I disagree that
it's a performance and she's become wrapped up in the culture. She's a cultural.
She's an icon.
Phenom.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not her artistry that makes her interesting. Like when the Beatles were a global phenomenon, the Beatles were doing something novel. Right? That's not Taylor Swift. It's just repackaged pop.
I don't see anyone else doing it though.
Oh, well, look.
It's the only thing. That's like
that's it. That's where the whole stage performance thing comes in. She has presence. I'll give her that much. But I mean, at some point here, fatigue has to set in. Because her overexposure, because she's not immune to the laws of physics, right? And one of the laws of physics for entertainers is you can become overexposed. It's exhausting. I mean, I'm even starting to not like the Kelsey brothers, including the one that plays here, just because I'm tired of hearing about them. I'm over it at this point.
Well, I regret to inform you is that when the Kelsey brothers eventually hang up the cleats, they're going to pick up a microphone. They're going to be on the sidelines every game. They're going to be in the studio.
And
That's not going to stop either.
And guess what? If I have a break here, like if Taylor Swift and the brother Kels break up tomorrow and I don't have to hear about it for 5 years, awesome. I'll be ready to hear them. Because again, it's nothing personal. I'm just over it.
Didn't I see that they're like planning on getting engaged in like August or something?
Yeah, and like
that, right? That was such a dumb headline. It's like, why do I care that they're planning to get engaged? Like,
right.
Let me know when it happens.
Right, exactly. It's like, I'll tell you what I hate as much as that. When you have friends that tell you they're trying to have a baby. I hate that. Tell me when someone is actually knocked up and having the baby. Or tell me when the baby's born, right? I don't need to know. Because when you tell someone you're trying, what you're really saying is, let me, translate here. Hey, guess what? We're having unprotected sex.
Yeah. Guess what we're doing tonight as soon as we leave here.
Exactly. It's like, okay, great. You and 10 million other co-eds this evening somewhere across the country, right? Why do I have to know about it? Don't need to know.
Do you tell your friends and family that too, you weirdo? Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, have you ever thought about that before? Keep it to yourself. Shake it off. So I don't know. I'm trying not to sound like a miser about Taylor Swift, but I don't think a lot of people disagree with me. It's overexposure. And notice, I'm not even saying, oh, she's terrible, she stinks, whatever. I get why people like her. My wife loves her. I understand it.
I don't like her.
I'm overhearing about it.
I think absolutely it's oversaturation. But
yes.
She brings in clicks, and
yes,
that's all that matters anymore with anything. So
yes, that's exactly right. So now I have to read these inane articles even over at Fox about how she's braving frigid temperatures. Move over young men that landed on Omaha Beach for D-Day, right? You've got nothing on Taylor Swift hanging out in a heated box at a Kansas City.
Meanwhile, there's dudes like shirtless down in the pit, just doing their own thing. It's like, I want to be that guy. I don't care about Taylor.
Right. So I'm cheering for the Bills. That's my long-winded way of saying that I'm pulling for the Bills hard.
Well, they should win tomorrow. How about Kathy Hochul moving the game? What do you think about that?
It's pathetic.
I mean, it is tough conditions. Like, it looks dangerous to travel. That's the only thing. Like, otherwise,
why do people have to be there though?
Oh,
just got to get the players there.
Oh, but you need the crowd there.
They would show up though.
But that's the thing. It's like
she doesn't want them to go.
I hate that, like a politician stepped in and was like, all right, like no game today. It's too bad. But then I see like the videos of like what's going on up there, that weather, and it's like, people maybe shouldn't drive in that.
It's nanny state nonsense. The governor of New York, especially in a state like New York that's got some serious problems, including the fact that New York City is probably now half a legal alien, right? She's got a lot of other stuff she should be focused on instead of policing whether, I don't know how many fans fit in that stadium. Let's say 60,000, right? 40,000, 50,000.
That's not even mentioning how many people are just going to be out in the parking lot tailgating.
Right. If they want to ice skate to the stadium to watch their teams play some of the most consequential games of the season, let them go. Leave it alone. None of your business. Just my 2 cents. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think that
it's I do understand what you're saying. Like I said, I don't like someone having to step in and be like, all right, no game today. But at the same time, it's like those roads look terrible, and getting in and getting out would be a disgrace, especially after some beverages.
You what I would tell the stadium if I was Kathy Hochul and whoever the local authorities are? You can have the game, but you got to pay for your own traffic enforcement. You got to foot the bill for the overtime, all that stuff. If they do that, then what's the harm?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what's going to happen. There's going to be fender benders and stuff like that. All right. So long as it's covered and the taxpayers don't have to deal with it, no harm, no foul. It's on those people. They chose to assume the risk, Henry, which is what this nation was built on. The right to go to a football game in a blizzard. It would have been epic too. Come on.
Oh, I think we were robbed of like an all-time classic.
Oh, yeah.
because you think about the Snow Bowl here in Philadelphia versus the Detroit Lions,
Yeah.
whatever, 10 plus years ago, and that's an iconic game.
Did you hear in Kansas City they were wearing wetsuits?
Yeah,
underneath their uniforms.
Oh yeah,
It's awesome.
It's great. You rub some Vaseline on your arms and your legs, whatever you got to do to stay warm. Like,
and I hate to say it. I mean, this is part of it too, and I understand. I do understand the safety angle, even though I disagree with Kathy Hochul. Surprise, surprise. But it is part of the ongoing wussification of the country. It really is, because football was one of the last things that made it okay to be masculine, right? And to, promote masculine values, and attitudes.
Yeah.
The idea of, hey, a bunch of guys getting together and proving how tough they are. And they're trying to take that away from us. And Taylor is part of it, which is, I think, why it rubs me the wrong way. The NFL looks at it as, oh, cool, maybe women are now interested because Taylor Swift is at the game. And then to your point, they're going to click on it because they want to know what's going on. Are they engaged? Are they pre-engaged? Are they super secret double engaged? Whatever the heck is the latest angle this week. But in the process, they're turning into something that's not going to be very enjoyable. Football's already not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of rules, a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Still varies year to year.
Definitely not the game it was when I was a kid. That's for darn sure. I
It
ain't that old.
It can't be, though. I mean, the way, how big, how strong these guys are now, a lot's changed. And it's just, if you want to go back to big hits and stuff, maybe take away the pads.
Well, I mean, I even think you could do something about the big hits and still have less rules and less penalties.
Well, it goes back to
most of the times they throw the flag and we all groan. It's not because somebody hit someone too hard or did something dangerous.
It is. I would disagree with that. I think it is. A lot of bull, roughing the passer calls or, defensive pass interference. I feel like they're all very ticky-tack, and they just don't want a physicality in the game anymore that it used to, and it stems from,
well, specifically with
CTE
quarterbacks,
losses.
though.
Specifically,
but the quarterbacks weren't the ones getting the concussions at the same volume anyway.
Yeah, but they were taking these big, blindside hits where they get, their head gets smacked into the turf, and
It's the guys on the line that were
the guys on
giving
the
each other
line
brain damage.
they're in a mini car crash pretty much every play.
Right.
I don't know. No pads, no helmets. There's a league that does that, and they blow each other up, and everyone's fine. It's that cushion of pads that lets you just go, you know what, I'm going to crush this guy. So if you want to ever go back to like physicality, that might be an option. I mean, it'd look weird. It would.
I want gladiator combat in the snow.
That's it?
Just gladiator combat in snow.
Not a football game.
There wasn't anything else. Yeah, I just want a battle. Yes. Absolutely. The same politicians that want us in every single conflict overseas, right? I'm not as interested in that. I want war on the gridiron. That's what I want.
Okay. I respect
That's
that.
what satiates me as an American.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? That should be a hotkey if it's not already. It probably is on somebody's, but
yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, we're not going to play that game. 855-839-1210 is the number here at the show. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. We will talk a little bit more 2024 this hour because we're only 24 hours away from the Iowa caucuses. But we have some other things on the docket this hour as well, including, I mentioned illegals in New York City a little while ago. There's some news out of Maine concerning illegal residents getting free rent. Must be nice. I'm sure you'd love that, Henry. Plenty of other people would, but apparently you have to break into the country to get it. We'll touch on that and a whole heck of a lot more here on the Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT.
1210 WPHT Philadelphia, 10 p.m. this Sunday night. What videos do you watch obsessively? This Sterling on Sunday, you and I will talk about the videos that we watch obsessively that we don't want anybody to know about. Plus, the greatest risk to domestic peace, the FAFSA student aid form. This Sunday night at 10 o'clock, Sterling on Sunday, 1210 WPHT.
Don't miss the Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy.
Major phone carriers make you sign contracts with rigid data plans to trap you into a kind of forced phonogamy. Sounds pretty insecure if you ask me. At Consumer Cellular, we believe in a more consensual and healthy form of phonogamy, free of contracts and more flexible to your data needs. This way, you stick around not because we force you to with contracts and fees, but because you love our phone plans. Like ardently love our phone plans. Phonogamously. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. This new year, make some resolutions that will improve the environment. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans. Reuse paper and plastic bags and get a reusable bag for groceries. Recycle old clothes by donating them to charity. And recycle old electronics like TVs, computers, and cell phones at appropriate e-waste facilities. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Hi, Little Bob here. This year, we're doubling down on new at Bob's Discount Furniture. So happy new year. I've got new styles like my Dylan Sectional. New ways to recharge with my Tuxedo Motion Sofa. New mattresses for a new lease on life. New colors and new everyday low prices. My Calvin bedroom is just $7.99. I've even got a new look. Wait, you can't see what I'm wearing? Ah, schnickel fritz. When you can have a new year for less, there's only one thing to say. Oh, my Bob!
Bob's Discount Furniture.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. This year, resolve to use less gas. You can carpool to work a few days a week and walk any distance under a mile. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Major phone carriers make you sign contracts with rigid data plans to trap you into a kind of forced phonogamy. Sounds pretty insecure if you ask me. At Consumer Cellular, we believe in a more consensual and healthy form of phonogamy, free of contracts and more flexible to your data needs. This way, you stick around not because we force you to with contracts and fees, but because you love our phone plans. Like ardently love our phone plans. Phonogamously. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. This new year, make some resolutions that will improve the environment. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans. Reuse paper and plastic bags and get a reusable bag for groceries. Recycle old clothes by donating them to charity. And recycle old electronics like TVs, computers, and cell phones at appropriate e-waste facilities. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Calling on North Wales to follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
How does Zioli feel about the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
He hates them.
So, I'm an 80s, 90s kid. I like the Chili Peppers, and I was actually thinking that that's one of the better starts to any song ever.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think a great intro. But I also immediately thought, since you were the one playing it, I bet you that Rich gives you grief for it.
100%. Like he like chews me out if I ever do play him.
The Chili Peppers are one of those bands that you either love or you hate.
I don't know that many people who hate them.
Yeah, I like them. I'm a fan.
Maybe it's just my age, and maybe,
Only thing about California I like.
Yeah.
Truth be told.
Yeah, maybe it's a generational thing, but like I
it is.
I don't know anybody who like dislikes the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Because you and Rich and I we're back to back different generations. He's a Gen X. I'm millennial. You're Z.
Is he a Gen X?
I think so. Yeah.
When's that cutoff date? What is that?
If you were a teen in the 80s, I think makes you a
teen
Gen.
in the 80s?
I think so. How old is Rich?
I've never been.
Rich has got to be at least late 40s, right?
Late 40s?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right. Can we Google his age? Rich, if you're listening, we're going to Google your age. Rich.
I've never Googled his
age. I don't have anything on here. I bet you Zioli has scrubbed his age from the internet.
Yeah, I bet he has too. I've never asked or anything. I assumed he was like early 40s.
I'm 39.
Yeah, I think he was.
So if I'm 39, I'm thinking Rich has to be at least mid 40s.
I'd say early mid 40s, if anything. I don't know.
What's early mid?
Like 43, 44.
All right, we're gonna figure this out. Maybe we'll take a bet.
Take a bet.
You and I.
What are we setting the line at?
I don't know. We'll figure out something.
45. I mean, it's above. You take the over. I take the under.
How about tickets to the Eras tour? Is it over?
The Eras tour? I don't have that kind of money, Matt.
That's the other thing about Taylor Swift. How can you have Eras when you're like in your 30s?
All right. In her defense, she did start out when she was like 14.
Whatever. All right, I'm gonna move on from hating on Taylor Swift. I will also throw this out there real quick while we're on the subject of national news. Allegedly, a deal has been reached to avert a government shutdown. Yay! Yay!
I wish they would shut it down.
Yeah, I mean, every time they shut down, we're always reminded that almost anything you actually care about is deemed essential.
Yeah.
So, who cares? I saw earlier today that apparently a bunch of federal employees are planning to walk out and protest the situation with Israel and the Palestinians. And yeah, I mean, stay out forever. Protest to your little hearts or content at home on someone else's dime.
Please.
Until the end of time.
By all means.
But a deal has apparently been reached all the same. Which I think the significance of this is really just that maybe this temporarily ends the revolving door of Republican speakers, right? It's becoming some kind of really crappy reality show. Who wants to be a speaker, right? Every other month, it seems like we got a new one now.
And they nominate someone you've never heard of.
Yeah.
No track record.
They're digging deep now. So maybe our current speaker will survive another month now, unless a hardline Republican conservative decides to once again challenge him based upon the rules that were originally agreed upon by Kevin McCarthy, which ended up sowing the seeds of his own destruction. So we'll find out. I suspect there's going to be stuff in here conservatives don't like, because otherwise there wouldn't have been the deal. So we'll find out how much this deal stinks to the extent it does. Republicans, once again, just failing to frame an argument. I think that's really the story there. Let's go to the phones, because I always give out the number because I'm trained to do it, and then I end up neglecting them all night, and then we get a backup of some people, and I gotta be a good host, and I can't make all of you wait out there all evening. So let's take a look. Alex out in Swarthmore. You've called in before, Alex, a regular. Welcome back to the Matt Rooney Show.
Yeah, I enjoy what you do. You really have you've hit a lot of topics tonight that I can't agree with you more on a lot of it.
And whenever you agree with me, you can always call in, Alex, and tell you how on point I am. That's encouraging.
Well, it's a good show. I mean, really, it's one of those kind of shows that you can go up and down the dial. You're not going to find anything else like it. It's unique.
Kidding aside, I do appreciate that. That's what we aim for around here.
As far as Nikki Haley, there was a candidate named McCain, if you remember him.
Vaguely.
That I always thought, and there was this thing going around back then, we were letting the Democratic Party pick the candidate they thought they could most easily beat. Do you remember that whole thing back then there was a suspicion that they were clever enough that we were able to fall for their trick of a Republican candidate that they could easily beat. And I see Nikki Haley is, to me, just not a reasonable candidate. I don't want to use the word silly, but I already did. Not genuine. She doesn't have that stern, this is the most important thing you've ever done in your life kind of quality that Trump has.
That is a very interesting way. I'm going to let you finish your thought, Alex, but I want to zero in on that for a second, because that's a really great way of putting it. Trump gives you a sense of urgency that is appropriate, and it's one of the things that makes Republicans gravitate towards him, because to make it even more simple, he gets it, right? He gets that the stakes are high and that we can't wait for incremental change. Nikki Haley, you get none of that from her.
Well, with Trump, when he's trying to make a point, he realizes that to be cynical is the best way to get the point across. It's not comedy. It's cynicism. And everybody thinks that way. We're cynical, and we think the way that Trump thinks. But there's a certain immediacy to the way Trump thinks, like, okay, all jokes aside, this is the most serious thing we will ever do. I don't get that with Nikki Haley. You know what I get from Nikki Haley? She's running for school class president.
Yep.
That's the class I put her in.
That's right. That's right. I'll tinker with social media access. Maybe we'll get a little bit more involved in some of these wars that everybody's talking about. We'll get free pizza on Fridays. You're right. You're exactly right. And to your point about John McCain, two things. One, they want to default back to whose turn it is. That's the mode of nominating contest that the establishment is more comfortable with, that someone checks enough boxes and now we nominate them regardless of whether or not they're the right man or woman for the circumstances. Nikki Haley fits that paradigm pretty well. And then there's your other point about McCain being selected for the Republican base. We know why they love John McCain, because John McCain was constantly dumping on his own party and his own movement on conservative principles. The guy, God rest his soul, never wished him any ill, but until almost his last day, that seemed to be the only thing that gave him joy. And now Nikki Haley perhaps recognizes, Alex, that there's an opening for that in the American political sphere, right? The media is always looking for someone that is going to be the official designated criticizer of the GOP base in chief. And maybe Nikki Haley's not going to occupy that space. Chris Christie wanted to occupy that space. But the media, the donor class, I think, recognize that Fatty McThunder Biscuits is damaged goods. No one takes him seriously because he's done so much to damage his own authenticity over the course of many years now. So I think you have the right of it. There are echoes of McCain in Nikki Haley, and it goes beyond their neoconservatism.
Well, I believe that the thing that we have to watch out is that we are in a very serious place in our history. And it's time for all the silly giggling that I see Nikki Haley doing. Just put all that aside and say, look, here's what we're going to have to do, and explain it to us in 5 minutes the way Trump does. Don't just stand up there on the podium and act silly and pretend that this is all such a giddy little experiment. Right. I'm turned off by that.
And the comments about the heels, right? Like, okay, we get it. You're a woman. Most of us don't care whether you're a man or a woman. We care much more that for example, that there are only men and women, and you're willing to fight for basic common sense in this country, particularly where our kids are concerned. Alex, your comments are always on point. We appreciate you calling into 1210. Call anytime, my friend.
Thank you, Matt. Take care.
I hit it out of the park there with the John McCain comparison. It's happening all over again. The only difference being, Henry, I think you, me, Alex, plenty of other folks out there, not just in the 1210 WPHT listening range, but also across the country. We've seen this movie before, to use the old expression. So we can see it coming a mile away, and we're less likely to get duped by it. By the way, over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, where the comments are always lively. Lots of good stuff going on tonight. Boggs Chip says, did you guys talk about the riot at the White House last night? No, we did not talk about the riot at the White House last night. And actually, Boggs Chip, you're using the wrong phraseology. It's not a riot. It's an insurrection, right?
Yeah, I saw that was trending on Twitter. I bothered not clicking on it.
Yeah, so Biden wasn't there. He was on vacation, which is where Joe Biden almost always is. Getting his vitamin shots at a secret location in Delaware to keep him standing upright. But a large gaggle of pro-Palestinian, which let's get rid of pro-Palestinian, right? Anti-Semitic protesters, right? People that don't like Jews for whatever reason, because there's no other logical reason to feel any sympathy for the anti-Israeli position in this particular scenario. I'm just going to throw that out there. You disagree with me, so be it. It's a free country, but I like calling things for what they are. They attacked the gate at the White House last night. And it was we can't do it justice here on a radio program, but if you want to look up the footage for yourself on social media, If you haven't seen it already on television, it's harrowing, right? I mean, I don't like Joe Biden, but I still don't like seeing protesters, or in this case, rioters, insurrectionists, attacking the gate at the White House. There's something about it that's jarring, uncomfortable, scary. Why aren't they being called insurrectionists, right? These are folks that, let's check all the boxes here. They don't think Joe Biden should be president. They don't like Joe Biden. They're attacking a federal government installation. And by the way, it's not as if they're just sitting around smoking hemp and singing anti-war songs and doing the usual things that we would have expected of, hippie liberal anti-war protesters in years past, right? They're actually violently attacking this federal installation where the president lives, right? Something that's not just a physical building, but a potent symbol of our democracy, Henry. So why are they not being termed, or why are they not being categorized as insurrectionists? Well, you know the answer to the question without your old pal Matt telling you. It's because you're only an insurrectionist if you have an R at the end of your name, if your voter registration is Republican. Then you wear your Viking helmet, you attack the Capitol, you're, going to go to jail for the rest of your natural life. If you besiege a courthouse for months up in the Pacific Northwest, if you attack the White House, right? If you're a anti-Semite, pro-Palestinian protester in Washington, D.C., if you are any of the BLM or Antifa that burned down cities and terrorized, ironically, largely non-white neighborhoods, destroyed black businesses that were there for decades in some cases, especially in the upper Midwest. If you fall into any of those categories, no, you're a protester. You're mostly peaceful. There's the buzzword, right? Only an insurrectionist if you like the orange man, if you're a Trumper. So there you go once again, how the legacy media, a very clear illustration of how the legacy media controls the perceptions of people that are not paying close enough attention by trying to villainize certain classes of people and create an artificial hierarchy of morality, which has no logic attached to it, but it serves their political ends. You're not going to fall for it because you listen to 1210, you listen to the Matt Rooney Show. We have to educate as many of our fellow citizens and wake up as many people as we can between now and November. If we don't, we may lose this country. We're already on the verge of losing this country. Some people think it's already too far gone. Me, being 39, having young kids, loving my main man, Henry here, who's at the tender age of 24, right? Think about Henry. Henry's got a whole life ahead of him. Don't you want to save this country for Henry?
Please.
Yes. I want Henry to enjoy everything America has to offer and eventually one day see a Philadelphia team that doesn't disappoint him. Start to finish.
Oh, jeez. You're asking for two miracles right now.
Well, you know what? That's the audacity of being an American. Not the audacity of hope. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
That's a different book by a very different guy than yours truly. Remember, youtube.com/@1210WPHD. Head over there, click like. I think if I get enough likes, Stalker gives me a free toaster or something like that. I'll give it to Henry.
An ID badge, maybe.
An ID badge so I can use the bathroom on my own. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with more to finish out this second of 3 hours on the Matt Rooney Show in a moment.
Rich Scioli.
For God's sake, we don't need Rich's running commentary during a live news event. Just shut your pie hole for once. Geesh, what has the station devolved to? Here's the thing. My show, my rules. If I want to talk over this, I'm talking over this. Marcus Aurelius says, I like Rich's running commentary at the press conference, but then again, I like the smell of bus fumes. That's fair. Thank you very much for listening. We appreciate that.
Rich Scioli, weekday afternoons 3 to 7. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans directly, and recycle old clothes by donating them. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
For over 4 decades, Kitchen Magic has been transforming ordinary kitchens into extraordinary spaces. Our dedicated team is at the core of our success, combining expertise and creativity to drive innovation and excellence. We understand that your kitchen is more than just a space. It's where memories are made and cherished for a lifetime. We'll craft a kitchen that truly becomes the heart of your home. Discover the possibilities at kitchenmagic.com today. Now offering no money down, no interest, and no payments for 12 months on your kitchen remodel.
If you want jazz music, go to New Orleans. Bagels, New York. And for psychics, think California Psychics. You want the best, you go to the best. At California Psychics, home of free spirits and open minds, we know better than anyone what makes a good psychic. That's why we guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. This new year, make some resolutions that will improve the environment. Resolve to use less gas in your car. You can carpool to work a couple of days a week, use public transportation like buses or trains, combine errands to make fewer trips, and take a walk for any distances of a mile or less. And think about an electric car when looking for your next vehicle. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Hey, it's Rich Zioli. For years I've been talking about the great work my friends Stephanie and Matt and the entire team at Emmons have done for me and my home. Well, now Emmons can bring that same quality of work to all of your kitchen and bathroom remodeling needs. Emmons Roofing has really become the one-stop shop for all your roofing, siding, windows, solar, and now baths and kitchens. Trust the team at Emmons just like we did. They remodeled our kitchen and our bathroom in our former house, and we were so happy with the work they did. If you have a property at the shore, have the team at Emmons come out and take a look at the roof now. Small winter leaks can lead to big costly repairs when the warm weather hits. So call 856-556-3229. Call today for a free estimate online at emmonsroofing.com or visit the Emmons Design Showroom in Cherry Hill. That's emmonsroofing.com. Be sure to tell them I sent you. Remember, for 6 years, I've been using Emmons on every project in my home. Excellent results, outstanding people. emmonsroofing.com.
Calling on Blackwood to follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
By the way, Henry Michette, not one of those mostly peaceful protesters in Washington, D.C., cough, cough, insurrectionists who attacked the White House, not one arrest so far. You had people walk through the Capitol building and pick up objects that are facing years in prison. And before you get your panties in a twist, I am not saying that someone that went to the Capitol building on January 6th and punched a cop deserves anything other than to be prosecuted. I am not saying that. I've been consistent since the beginning. I'm just looking for a little bit of equity. Because in this world of ours, justice is not justice unless it's equal. It needs to be equally applied or the concept is meaningless. That's all I want. Just a little bit of equity, a little bit of consistency, a little bit of honesty in this world of ours.
Keep dreaming, pal.
I'm a dreamer, Henry. I don't know what to tell you. You know what Elizabeth Warren's dreaming of? Besides being a real Indian when she grows up?
What's that?
She wants a pay raise. Surprise, surprise. Elizabeth Warren, according to Business Insider, says that lawmakers on Capitol Hill need to make more money. They need bigger salaries because they're otherwise the plaything of multimillionaires and billionaires. Right? So, context here. Elizabeth Warren, who is like 1/1000th Native American and lied about it. She is an academic who has made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year as a professor, right? No single institution in this country has more power and more money, especially when you look at these endowments at these major academic institutions, than big academia. But she has the nerve to say, oh no, we have to have members of Congress make more money so that they can be immune from these forces. I understand that no one wants to waste taxpayer dollars, Warren said. But Congress needs to be, Henry doesn't believe it.
Nobody wants to waste taxpayer dollars, please.
But Congress needs to be more realistic about what it takes to attract the top people to public service across the board and how to keep them engaged throughout their careers. It's not supposed to be a career, you dingus. It's not supposed to be a career. That's the whole point. Our system was not designed so that someone would go to Washington, D.C. and park their crusty keister there for decades. That's not the point. It's public service, emphasis on the service. You succeed in the private sector, and then you sacrifice, go there for a while, and then, you go home. What a concept. But that's the part of this they won't get into because they don't believe in it, and obviously that would mean that the gravy train stops. And it's not just Washington, D.C. You may have missed it recently, especially if you are over on the western banks of the Delaware River. But Trenton just voted to give itself a 67% pay increase. Lawmakers in New Jersey, in addition to their staffs. 67%. Did you get a 67% raise this year, Henry? I'm sure you did, right?
No, I can't say that I did.
Did you miss your check? I must have missed mine.
I got a raise, but nothing like that.
And it's the same arguments we heard in New Jersey. Well, we need to be able to pay our staff and we need to be able to retain the best people. What evidence do you have and can you present that we have the best people in Trenton or Harrisburg or Washington, D.C.? Right? Who are we retaining? What's going to attract the best people to these government positions is to make government what it was designed to be. A place where good people go to serve and then move on. When you create a swamp, which is what Donald Trump previously ran promising to drain, right? When you create swamp, all you're going to ever attract is amphibians and flies and other nasty, slimy, stinky things that, it doesn't matter what you pay them. The point is they're there because they find other ways to make money for themselves, right? Either subsequent to their quote-unquote service as lobbyists or in a bunch of other indirect ways. Their book deals, their speaking fees, the connections they create. That's the true benefits package of working in a place like Washington, D.C. or in Trenton or in Harrisburg. The access to the network. They don't need more of our money. It's a joke. It's just a legal way to rob us.
Yeah, I like the idea that it's like, no, in order for us to not, rip you off some more, we need more of your money.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? It's a shakedown. That's what it is. It's a protection racket.
It's crazy. And I love just watching politicians try to spin it.
Meanwhile, what are they doing with all this money? The government sector folks. Up in Maine, right? They're giving free apartments to illegal aliens. This is cut number 3, Henry. If you've got it, this one is going to make your head explode. So spoiler alert. Two years of free rent must be nice. Our men and women that go overseas to fight in the wars that these globalist turds want you to vote for this year by voting for Joe Biden or Nikki Haley or whoever it is espousing them, we don't give them 2 years of free rent when they come home. Yet if you break into this country, you get 2 free years of rent. What? Excuse me? One of the arguments I heard, Henry, over the course of the past couple weeks in New Jersey, because that's where I am, and I write about New Jersey politics over my website, savejersey.com. I heard, we need to spend this money. It's important we spend this money, blah, 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 blah. I'll tell you what would have made me feel a little bit better about it, at least in terms of paying the staff, if it had been funded by defunding some of these programs that give free cash to illegal aliens. In New Jersey, we give them tuition subsidies. We give them immigration attorneys. We give them licenses. I mean, the list goes on and on. We spend, and of course, we give them free education, right? Texas tried to fight this a while ago, but there's not many ways around it. You have to educate them. So had we taken some of that money and given it to actual New Jerseyans who live here and work here and are New Jersey citizens and U.S. citizens, I would have felt a little less salty about the whole prospect. But no, the Democrats are consistent, perhaps not in their moral pronouncements, but always in one thing. You can always count on them to spend the money on the people that they think are going to strengthen their voting coalition. That's where the money always ends up. Whether it's to butter their fellow swamp creatures that are under the dome in Trenton or elsewhere, whether it is a group that they think demographically is going to benefit them in future elections, that's what they're willing to spend money on. You, me, the working people of this country, they don't care. You're Trump voters. Why are they going to spend your money on you? What a ridiculous prospect. You have to sometimes laugh, otherwise you cry. In this case, I just want to scream into a pillow because that's how these stories make me feel. But we press on. We have no other option. 855-839-1210 is the number here at the Matt Rooney Show. Again on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. 2 hours are now behind us. You want to go for another minute?
Please.
You sure?
Spots wise, yeah, please.
All right. Well, I was going to give a wind up.
I need more.
You need more of me?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to sing some Taylor Swift?
No, please. Can you sing?
No.
Yeah, neither can I.
Well, it depends how much I've had to drink.
Yeah, it doesn't.
A few whiskeys, and you should hear my Ave Maria, Henry. You want to do that?
Is that your go-to karaoke
I don't have
song?
anything. No, it's not my go-to. I'm just so if you, I don't know. I mean, I'm Catholic. I don't know what your religion is if you have one, but
Catholic.
I was an altar boy, and there was a great. Speaking of rackets, when I was in grade school, I used to get to go and do the funerals. They always needed altar boys for the funerals.
Right.
So they'd bring you over from Catholic school over to the church, and the funeral director would pay you. So it was a great way to make some cash on the side.
Yeah.
So I have every single church song embedded somewhere in my skull. And
I do too.
I will never forget them.
I mean, I went to Catholic school K through 12. It's all burned in there.
Yes, it's in there. So if you just a little bit of coaxing, Prayer of St. Francis, the Eagle's wings, whatever, I'll give it to you if you want it, Henry. I mean, we'll lose our listeners, but
yeah, maybe we'll save that for a different show.
Yeah, let's save that for a real desperate week of the summer where nothing's going on. Yeah, that's when we'll bust that out. So, were you an altar boy?
No,
I
had no desire to do that.
No desire.
No,
you missed out on some free cash.
All
you have to do is sit there, carry some incense.
Had a big phobia of caskets and coffins and stuff, so that wouldn't have worked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I grew out of it, but it wasn't. Yeah, I wanted nothing to do with
I
that
outgrew
stuff.
my phobia of death. Now I love caskets.
Now I can tolerate being at a funeral. Now it's all right.
Well, I mean that's understandable for a young guy, right? That's not exactly your favorite. Your favorite thing. Yeah, I could see that. All right. Just a reminder, too, in our third and final hour tonight, coming up here in just a little bit, my friend Jacqueline Tobacco, who's a school board member in Middletown, New Jersey, one of my favorite shore towns, also the place that Phil Murphy currently calls home. Ironically, it's a pretty red town where they are consistently pushing back against some of the governor's worst policies. She's coming on tonight to talk about a topic that I can't wait to get Henry's take on. Should 16 and 17-year-olds be voting in school board elections? The largest city in New Jersey just voted to allow it starting this April. Phil Murphy wants to take it statewide. Logical? Insane? Can't wait to hear your take here on the Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. I'm going to go fill my coffee mug, and I'll be back in a moment. Don't move a muscle.
Kale and Company, weekday mornings, 6 till 10.
I will definitely look up the definition of short approach because I've never seen where it says you turn base of beam the numbers because I don't see how you could possibly do that.
Well, I Googled it.
If I'm on that flight,
I don't want my air traffic controller and my pilot bickering about short approaches or whatever the hell they're talking about. Just land the plane.
You've been flying drones in Allentown and Googling things. I'm going to do what I normally do and trust my gut instinct here.
Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
So, you got a new gadget over the holidays. Don't forget to listen to your favorite station on Odyssey. Unwrap the new Amazon Echo or Google Home? Be sure to tell your smart speaker to play your favorite station. Receive the new Sonos speaker? Check on Odyssey on the Sonos app for access to hundreds of stations. Got a new phone? Don't forget that the Odyssey app is the only way you can jump to your favorite show with Rewind. No matter what you received this year, listen to your favorites with Odyssey. Download the free Odyssey app today. AUDACY.
I'm Stacey Lynn. If you do have to go out, bundle up. And if you can stay home, even better. Bone-chilling temps have swept the country. A state of emergency has been declared in Mississippi because of the treacherous weather. Robert Lee is with the Public Works in Jackson.
Like most southern cities, most are not set up for major winter operations. And I think we're all aware of that. So the road and travel conditions are looking to be treacherous Monday and for sure on Tuesday.
Even the NFL's been affected by the weather. The Bills-Steelers game that was supposed to be today in Buffalo was postponed until tomorrow. And the South isn't spared either from the cold snap, with the wind chill in places like Dallas, 9 degrees below zero. Will the frigid cold keep voters from coming out to caucus tomorrow? CBS's Robert Costa is in Des Moines.
A frozen frenzy. Republican presidential candidates and voters trudging through Iowa on the eve of the GOP caucuses in sub-zero temperatures.
Even though it's cold, if I do make a difference this year, I want to be here.
The World Economic Forum kicks off tomorrow in Switzerland. Protesters are already out demanding much more needs to be done to address climate change.
Our current economic system is pushing our planets beyond its boundaries. And we as a population, we're scared of what's to come. So we're here to protest for the future, for a system change, for an economic change, to end fossil fuels.
It's been 100 days since Hamas attacked Israel. Here's BBC correspondent Wira Davies.
The number of civilians killed in Gaza has been huge. More than 23,000 dead, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, many of them women and children. Palestinian officials say that 85% of Gaza's population has been displaced.
A woman and 2 children drowned while trying to cross the Rio Grande Friday night. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on CNN.
Obviously, it's an unfortunate thing, but I think what Texas is trying to do is set a standard so that people know that they're going to be turned away rather than let in.
And the Texas Military Department's issued a new statement saying that when Border Patrol agents asked for access to the park on Friday, the migrants in question had already drowned. Winter blues making you feel blah. Tomorrow may be the gloomiest day of the year. They call it Blue Monday. A UK travel company coined the phrase back in 2005, proclaiming the third Monday of January Blue Monday because of a bunch of factors they studied, including weather, debt, post-holiday rut, and resolutions being broken. They found levels of happiness were the lowest on this very day. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This year, wouldn't you like to stop feeling self-conscious about your receding hairline or thinning hair and to start feeling confident with the way you look? Millions of men and women around the world trust Hair Grow from New Nordic as an effective way to get thicker-looking hair. Hair Grow is backed by an exclusive U.S. patent and is clinically proven to promote more hair growth. One actual Hair Grow customer writes, "After trying Hair Grow for a month and a half, my hair began to grow and thicken with no breakage when combing or shampooing. My hair is beginning to look great." Another writes, "A friend of mine noticed lots of increased hair growth. I couldn't be happier with the results and highly recommend this product for anyone with thin hair." Start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow. Ask for Hair Grow at your local Walgreens or shop online at Amazon.com or NewNordicUSA.com. That's new, NORDIC USA.com. Amazon, or ask for Hair Grow at your local Walgreens. New year, new you, New Nordic.
It's Milan Fashion Week.
Dolce & Gabbana offered a mostly black collection. Emporio Armani showed off marine-inspired clothing, and MSGM unveiled its collection in a metro station. Fendi's menswear designs were inspired by Queen Anne. The collection was casual, offering corduroy trousers, soft suits, and shimmery overcoats. Most of the shows this week are men's collections. Wendy Gillette, CBS News.
Well, no doubt you've seen the new Calvin Klein ad that pretty much broke the internet, featuring the star of The Bear, Jeremy Allen White, half naked, laying on a red corduroy couch. You can now own that infamous couch as it's being sold on Facebook Marketplace for $0. Yes, chef. The couch listed in fair condition is allegedly the very same one that the actor was laying across. It's still unclear if the listing is legit. Stacey Lynn, CBS News.
If you haven't switched to MetaShare yet, two big reasons to at least consider it and why it makes so much sense right now. Number one is inflation, which is just affecting everything. It just makes sense to say, okay, where can I actually save? Well, you can save a lot in one fell swoop if you switch to MetaShare. The typical family saves $500 a month. Secondly, your conscience. MetaShare members aren't forced to pay for things they don't support or believe in, and that's a big deal for a lot of people right now. They want their money to actually help people. And one more reason, you can trust MetaShare. It's been the gold standard for healthcare sharing for more than 30 years. It works, and members love it too. It has double the member satisfaction rating compared to health insurance. So now's a great time to consider making the switch, and they are very easy to talk to. MetaShare has great customer service. You can call now and get a price within 2 minutes. Here's the number. It's 877-26-BIBLE. That's 877-26-BIBLE, 877-26-BIBLE.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Welcome back, old friends, new frenemies, and all who lie elsewhere in between on the spectrum that is life. I am Matt Rooney. This is the Matt Rooney Show, beginning our third of 3 hours tonight on 1210 WPHT. Honored to have you with us. 855-839-1210 is the number. If you want to call in and attempt to participate, you can also follow along over on the YouTubes. YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. Joined tonight, of course, by the extremely talented, peerless in craft and skill, Henry Machette.
Stop. You're too kind.
Sometimes.
And incorrect, so.
And correct. So. It's always better when kindness and correctness dovetail, right? and meet in the middle. How's your weekend going, by the way, Henry? Other than the fact that you had to come in here.
It was pretty mundane, I'd say.
Was it mundane?
Nothing crazy.
What does Henry do for fun? I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah. I used to invasively get into producer Dan's personal life when he was here. I haven't done that to you. No. And I'm not saying I'm going to do that. But like, do you go out a lot?
I go out a fair amount.
A fair amount?
Not as much as I used to.
Yeah. Well, that won't change with time.
Yeah, I figured. I don't know what happened. I mean,
you got tired, bud.
Is that what happened?
Recovery time dips a little bit more every 5 years.
I mean, recovery time is just.
And I don't even mean just drinking. I mean like going out in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's something I got to work on. I think my social batteries kind of declined over the years, as well as the recovery time ain't what it used to be.
It's also a rough time of year too.
Yeah,
because in a weekend like this where it's frigid, the air's blowing cold, it's so much easier to stay at home and binge something.
Totally.
Than to go out. I will say that slightly different phase of life, have young kids. I went to the movies this weekend and I saw the new Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
Really?
Pretty solid. I had very low expectations for a prequel
because it's a musical.
It's
right?
It's a musical, but see, that's good for the kids because they like the songs. But it wasn't so much the musical that gave me low expectations. It was the fact that how often does Hollywood get these remakes right?
Mm-hmm.
But Timothy Chalamet
Yeah.
is the lead, does an awesome job. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah. I don't want to say I got my money's worth because to take kids to the movies in 2024, there's a reason why they're dying. It's not just the quality. I think I got 2 sodas, large bag of popcorn, bag of Raisinets, 3 tickets. I spent $70.
Yeah.
Right? To see a movie.
Mm-hmm.
$70. That's a lot of money. And I remember sitting there thinking, I mean, I'm not a rich man. I do well, but, how do people do this?
You got to be sneaking some stuff in. You can't buy everything at the counter. Like, you buy some popcorn, that's fine. That's, the bare minimum you're going to need. But, like, I don't know. You can sneak in a bottle, a box of Raisinets, something.
Stop at Wawa and load up.
Yeah.
And then take it over.
Put this in your pants. Put this down your shirt.
I remember when we were kids, we were brazen. We went to this one movie theater where one of our friends was an employee. And he used to open the door and let our one friend in with a pizza. And we'd sit in there and eat the pizzas. And,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. That's how it should be.
It's absolutely how it should be. It's still like that in some places. I won't give away where I do that at, but
Now I will say this. You go to some of these theaters now, they are improving the comfort experience to justify the ticket price. So there's less seats in the theater. You sit, the one I was at the other day in South Jersey, you're in these fantastic lazy boy recliners.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want to get food, even though it costs an arm and a leg, you can actually get real food, chicken tenders, fries, that kind of stuff. New Jersey's crazy with its liquor licenses, but in some states you can actually get liquor service. You can get a drink and you can bring it to your seat.
do that in PA here.
Yeah. New Jersey, you don't really see that because New Jersey has these liquor license laws that make it prohibitively expensive to come in and do it. You got to pay millions of dollars at some of these locations. Yeah, I know, right? Shocking that New Jersey does it in a way that makes it maximally corrupt, right? So, but in any event, for those of you out there, parents, grandparents in the audience, the Wonka movie, pretty good. I mean, nobody's Gene Wilder, but
I just can't wait for March to see Timothy Chalamet in Dune Part 2.
Were you a Dune fan?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I love the book. The first movie, spot on with the book for the most part.
If my father's listening, he's a big Dune fan. I don't know if he's seen any of the movies. Maybe we'll go, Dad, if you're listening.
Oh, yeah. Watch that first movie first because, it's pretty much, I want to say 2/3 of the book. But then, the last third is where, it really gets kicked into high gear. And that's what I can't wait to see.
But see, this is what changes with kids fundamentally. Like I would probably enjoy that. And maybe some of you out in the audience feel a little differently about it. On those rare opportunities where my wife and I can go out on a date night, I'm not going to blow it on the movies. I'm going to go do something else, right? So I never go to the movies anymore to see a quote unquote adult movie. And when I say adult movie, I'm not talking about what you're thinking of. Get your minds out of the gutter, folks. I'm talking about a movie you can't take a child to. Something rated R. Not going to go see that. I'm going to wait till it comes out. So the only movies I ever actually go to the theater for anymore are children's movies. Like I wanted to see Napoleon because I'm a history nerd.
Right.
Never got to see it. Now I think you can rent it now, so I'm gonna rent it.
Yeah, I heard that wasn't all that great anyway. So
no, I heard it was mediocre, but not Joaquin. Yeah, Joaquin. Yeah.
Not River.
Joaquin. I was gonna say River. If River's in a movie, that would really be impressive. Yeah. Well, I guess with CGI you can do anything. But Joaquin Phoenix is usually pretty good. That's what kind of like. But I heard they spend too much on the love story.
Yeah, they try to capture him as a man, I guess they would say.
Yeah,
but a little too much on that.
Oh yeah, I think you and I talked about.
Yeah,
this.
I think we have.
Yeah, that triggered something in my memory.
Apparently, he does like a thing with his tongue, like a lot.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie.
Well, at least they didn't have Taylor Swift play Josephine. Right? We got that going for us. 855-839-1210 is the number. YouTube.com/@1210WPHD. Coming up shortly, we'll be joined by Jacqueline Tobacco, school board member in Middletown, New Jersey, who we're going to talk about some of the latest updates in education in the Garden State in our region, including a proposal that Phil Murphy's taking up, which was just adopted in the city of Newark. to permit 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in school board elections. It's been taken up in different parts of the country, but I think that Newark may be the largest city by population in America, at least as of last week, to decide to do that. Plenty of people saying that it's a little bit crazy to let 16-year-olds who are, by the way, 16. We all know what 16-year-olds were like. I know what I was like at 16. I can only imagine what Henry was at 16. Pass judgment on not just education policy, but especially if you're at a state like New Jersey, decisions that heavily impact property taxes, when many of them are at least a decade away from even owning a home themselves. Does it make sense? Now, we'll get into this a little bit more with our guest, but Phil Murphy and the Democrats that are supporting this proposal believe that it is important for democracy. There's that word again, right? To get these young people in the game as soon as possible, to ingratiate them to the process and hopefully create lifetime voters who are actively engaged in our system. But you and I suspect, I don't want to speak for all of you, know that engagement for engagement's sake isn't always a good thing. We want informed engagement. And are you really informed enough at 16 to be able to weigh in on important local elections? And I think there was a time, Henry, when many people looked at school board elections. I would actually say most people looked at school board elections as kind of a sideshow on the Democratic card. They pass judgment on some things related to school policy, but who cares? It's just school board. It's a sideshow. It's the undercourt card. It's not a big deal. Well, we certainly learned through the COVID experience and then the efforts of leftists in more recent years to sexualize school curricula, right? And now with some of the transgender policies, how important it is to have people on a school board that represent your values and, let's just put it in plain terms, have their heads screwed on straight. So we're looking forward to talking to Jackie Tobacco about that in just a little bit. And we also still have plenty of other stuff left in today's stack. I do have very sad news. I didn't get a chance to talk to Henry about this yet. John Kerry is vacating his position as climate czar. Teardrop.
Is that a real position? Or is that something he gave himself to make himself feel good?
I mean, the issue is not real. So let's take it even further. You have a fake position for a fake crisis. Imagine that.
I can imagine it. No, I mean, nothing surprises me anymore.
And the best part about John Kerry stepping back from his position as climate czar, where he was, with no sense of the irony, going around the world on jets, putting CO2 in the atmosphere, arguing that we need to put less CO2 in the atmosphere. He's going to spend more time assisting the Biden 2024 campaign, which I am all about because I want Joe Biden to lose. Surprise, surprise. And John Kerry has no idea what he's doing. All you had to do was watch the 2004 election to know that.
Well, then he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to lose.
Well, that's what we want him to do for the Biden campaign. Yes. We want him to give Joe Biden as many bad ideas as he possibly can to make sure that we don't have to deal with this disaster for another 4 years. The worst John Kerry moment in 2004, and there were a lot of them, I will never forget this as long as I live. He came across Boston Harbor in like a PT boat or something like that, because I guess he served on one at some point. And he gets up there like Lurch, right? From the Monsters, right? And he stands up there and he goes, "John Kerry's reporting for duty." And he could barely get it out of the back of his throat. And it was just so artificial and staged. And it was the worst. It was, that's the moment when I watched the Democrat National Convention and I said, you know what? There's just, there's no chance. There's no chance this guy's going to get by. I like to fact check myself. I just committed my first factual error of the evening, by the way.
Oh no.
I said Lurch, the Munsters. No,
Yeah.
Lurch was the Addams Family, not the Munsters.
Yeah, see, that didn't even register with me. It's all the same in my mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, for you, they're all conflated. But yeah, I just wanted to correct myself on that because we care about accuracy here on the Matt Rooney Show. 855-839-1210 is the number. Let's take a break, get a little bit more caffeine if we need it, and then we'll be back with Jacqueline Tobacco to talk about 16-year-olds voting for school board. Does it make sense? Let's chat about it when we get back here on 1210 and WPHT.
Rich Zeoli.
Every time I see you on TV, man, I got to say, you got this Sonny Corleone hair going and it looks great, man.
Thank you. Luckily, I don't have Sonny's temper all the time. And unlike Sonny Corleone, I have Easy Pass. Thank you for getting that, guys. I appreciate that.
What a reference.
Sonny Corleone at Easy Pass, he'd be alive today, damn it.
Rich Zeoli, weekday afternoons, 3 to 7. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-514-1026. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-514-1026 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-514-1026 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-514-1026.
If you want jazz music, go to New Orleans. Bagels, New York. And for psychics, think California Psychics. You want the best, you go to the best. At California Psychics, home of free spirits and open minds, we know better than anyone what makes a good psychic. That's why we guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. This new year, make some resolutions that will improve the environment. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans. Reuse paper and plastic bags and get a reusable bag for groceries. Recycle old clothes by donating them to charity. And recycle old electronics like TVs, computers, and cell phones at appropriate e-waste facilities. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 1039 FM.
Philadelphia police are investigating a mass shooting that leaves 2 dead and 4 injured early Sunday morning in North Philadelphia. Today marks the 100th day of the war between Israel and Hamas. Monday is the official kickoff of the 2024 presidential campaign season as Iowa voters gather to caucus.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Don Stensland weekdays 10 till noon. Dom's here down on noon till 3. Free speech lives here. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
So I started out tonight acting like I was too cool for school, Henry. Oh, I'm not that enthused about the 2024 election. I will be riveted to the screen tomorrow night, waiting for returns from Iowa. Because once a political nerd, always a political nerd. I will stay up too late. And I'll probably be tweeting about it too over at my X account, Matt Rooney NJ, if you're not already following. And then, of course, over at my website, SaveJersey.com, we'll probably be posting results. So what I'm telling you is that I'm a horrible hypocrite.
I just don't understand why anyone would want to watch.
Well, I mean, let me give you one argument.
Okay.
Right? The Eagles are going to be on around the same time we're getting results, so it'll distract me from the
Okay.
Eagles because tomorrow's only going to go one of two ways, right? Either the Eagles are going to surprise us somewhat by being either mediocre or good,
Mm-hmm.
right? In which case, all right, whatever. I can allow my eye to wander, or they're going to be miserable, in which case I need a distraction.
Okay. All right. That's
So,
fair.
yeah, just plan it in advance. Plan it all out so I don't go insane.
Yeah, I can't say I'll do the same because if I do watch it, I will go insane.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, that's how I feel about the Birds. So we'll see what happens tomorrow as a new day dawns. But right now in 2024, one thing that's clear about the Iowa caucus is that everyone voting is an adult, right? Same thing in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a little bit different because in New Hampshire they allow independents to participate. That's why Nikki Haley is performing so competitively. Oh, and by the way, I should say this before I continue. Major endorsement tonight for Nikki Haley in Iowa. Bill Kristol, who isn't even a Republican anymore. Yeah, former co-founder of the Weekly Standard, turned major never Trumper. He's online endorsing Nikki Haley.
Bill Kristol?
Bill Kristol. Yeah,
Huh.
see, the look you have on your face is the correct reaction to when I say Bill Kristol.
Like when Harry met Sally?
No, not Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal would probably help. This is just Bill Kristol.
Yeah, can't say I'm familiar with his work.
Yeah, not funny. Not nearly as talented as Billy Crystal. That's awesome that you mixed them up. That made me. I bet you more than one person.
How many
at home
people
trouble.
have that name?
No, look. I mean, we joke about our ages all the time here. I don't mean this in a derogatory way. Like it's just so funny because you're 24. So like it's.
Well, who came first? Who
Yeah.
who established that name first?
I mean, they're probably about the same age. But I mean, Billy Crystal's obviously a bigger deal. Bill Kristol used to be a big deal in the conservative movement, but he's one of these folks that left the reservation during the Trump era. So it tells you all you need to know, going back to our conversation from the first half of tonight's program. You've got people like Bill Kristol coming out and agitating for Nikki Haley. Henry, you said it very well. Are they agitating for Nikki Haley because they really think that she is our best chance to beat Joe Biden? Are they agitating for Nikki Haley because of what she believes, right? Her policy prescriptions? No, this all boils down to they need a vessel to turn back the clock of time to the era before Donald Trump. That's what this is all about. And I'm not here saying that Nikki Haley may not have merits on certain issues, but that's not why people are supporting her. So proceed with caution if you are considering her to be entrusted with your vote. Because, again, endorsements like Bill Kristol tell you all you need to know. But back to what I was talking about a minute ago, we know right now in this primary cycle, it's all adults that are participating. But there is a movement afoot, which I think that the Democrats want to take national. But right now it's restricted to a few blue cities where they let 16 and 17-year-olds participate in elections. We've already heard of the moves and the calls and the efforts to make it so that illegal aliens can vote in school board elections. Well, these kids are legal citizens, but Newark, New Jersey, the most populous city in the state of New Jersey, voted this past week 9-0, the city council, to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in school board elections beginning this April, in just a few months. Is it a good idea? Is it absolutely crazy? And as I've already alluded to, what is behind this latest effort to reshape not just the education system, but how our democratic system operates in this country? Let's talk to someone who's been a guest on this program a number of times before. She is vice president of the Middletown, New Jersey School Board. She is a fierce advocate for children and parents who want to get an education, not just in New Jersey, but in this country. She's a mom of 4, and she brings common sense to her positions when it comes to the fate of our often besieged school system. She is Jacqueline Tobacco, and we welcome her back to the Matt Rooney Show. Jackie, Happy New Year. How are you?
Hey, Matt. Happy New Year. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, but for the fact that every day I follow your X feed, and I feel and I feel as if I'm becoming more and more detached from reality, not because of what I believe, but because these school boards and these town councils and all these other bad actors in our education system are just concocting more crazy ideas, which don't really seem designed at all, at least as far as I'm concerned, to produce the best result. And I know you opined on the one that I just talked about when I was introducing you. Newark is now going to allow minors, 16-year-old kids, to vote in their school board elections. And I saw on X that you are not a fan of this idea. You think it's more than a little bit cuckoo. Here's your quote. Lowering the voting age to 16 for BOE elections is an attempt to change the societal structure of 18 as the accepted age of majority. Shall we lower the age of majority for parental rights, vaccines, consent? How about the military? Everybody good with 16? Kind of says it all, huh?
I mean, I was just mind blown at this whole thing. I mean, to start with, I don't think many people even realize that the city council controlled the voting age in Board of Ed. That took me a long time to do some research to figure that out. So that
they amended their ordinance. That's what they did, for anybody listening at home scratching their head like you were.
Yeah. So that was the first mind blowing thing. I mean, I had heard Murphy's State of the State address and heard that he had wanted a bill on his desk, that there was already one that's about to be refiled. But yeah, it's mind blowing. And, listen, as you know, and I've been on the show before to talk about it, as you know, we're in litigation with the state also regarding our transgender policy and issues of parental rights. And this, to me, immediately struck a chord as, once again, we have a disparity in the age of majority in schools. And we are not only giving children rights that adults have in certain situations when it suits people in our school system, but we are also changing the power dynamic in a school system. And, for me, the first thing I thought of was, and again, I'll be completely honest, in Middletown, this represents or would have represented around 3,000 more potential votes for me personally as a Board of Ed member on my last election. And there's a power dynamic, and there is access to these children that incumbent BOE members have and that our teachers have. So now all of a sudden, as much as we fought to keep politics out of the classroom, we're literally bringing it right into the school building.
And you made another very good point when you were opining on this over on X. And I should say, for anyone interested, and you always speak for yourself. That's always the disclaimer, right? You're not speaking for the school board. Well, that's who you got your old pal Matt for. But you can follow Jackie at Jax, JAX1331 over on X. You pointed out that it was just a few years ago, 2018, when Phil Murphy signed a bill outlawing child marriage. And let's be clear what we're talking about here for anybody who didn't follow this. We're talking about child marriage, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds who want to get married with the consent of a parent. So Phil Murphy doesn't think a 16-year-old or 17-year-old have the ability to get married and make that weighty decision. I think a lot of people would probably agree with him on that point, if not on almost any other point. But we're going to allow kids to exercise the most important power you have in a democratic system of government, which is to pick your elected leaders. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And the list goes on, right? I mean, you can't rent a car at 16. You only have a permit, if anything, a driver's permit in New Jersey at 16. Can't buy beer, can't join the military, to your point, can't purchase tobacco products or marijuana. You said something very important, Jackie, and maybe you can expound on it. It almost seems as if Phil Murphy doesn't have any coherent logic underpinning his decision-making. It all comes down to what's best for the Democratic Party, what's best for the left, whatever they think is going to get them the most votes.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think, people have to understand as well that the only way that this is going to happen with lowering the voting age is to have mail-in ballots. So you just added how many thousands of voters in Newark to the Democratic rolls for Board of Ed. And when that goes well and they're able to say, we had great voter turnout and we have engaged children and we need to lower the voting age for the general election, everyone's going to think it's a great idea. And we are never going to recover in conservative cities from this. Even though I feel like if we're going to go by the municipalities having a vote, it's very easy to say, okay, well, maybe Middletown will never do this, but if all of a sudden we're adding voters to the rolls, well, then we're all going to end up doing it. And what are we saying then? I mean, he literally just, I think it was this weekend, he just has a new law that children need to have 50 hours of driving experience behind the wheel with a parent before they're able to get their license. So in one case, he's putting more and more guardrails on it's like a nanny state for children on some issues, and on other issues, you're being treated like a complete adult. And we have an age of majority for a reason. And in a school district, again, it's a conflict for how we deal with parents and their rights in schools as well, because we need parental permission and consent for so many things. And so you have an inconsistency where you're giving children the ability to say, well, you're treating me like an adult. I'm voting, right? I'm voting, but now I need my parents' permission to read a book or to watch a movie or to go on a field trip. I mean, this is the level that we're at, and it's just a pick and choose. There's no consistency in a school district with Phil Murphy at this point.
I also think that, and Phil Murphy may not even be looking at it this way, but I think it's implicit in how this is being presented. They're treating school board elections as if they're unimportant elections. You and I both know part of the reason why they want kids to be able to vote in these elections is because they are beginning to recognize how critical controlling school boards are with the pushback in favor of parental rights we've seen in recent years. But, why is this the first election that you would allow a child to participate in? It's arguably one of the most important, right? Your member of Congress in many ways affects your day-to-day life, especially in a state like New Jersey, less than your members of school board, whether it's school policy, obviously, or other things like property taxes, which school boards have a direct impact on. So I guess what I'm saying is it's almost in a roundabout way, this proposal kind of representative of a degrading attitude directed at school boards, as if somehow, this is the acceptable starter election for kids to vote in. So if they mess it up, so be it.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. And I think people are recently realizing how important the school board elections are. And you're right. I mean, to control the property taxes in the town based on your decisions and what you're spending the money on is a big deal. And that will affect people way before anything that a congressman votes on. So it's just an interesting dichotomy. And again, many people reached out to me and said, they think that this is a direct response to conservatives winning and becoming interested on running for school boards. And possibly, I don't pretend to know what is in Phil Murphy's mind when these things get done, or in the Council of Newark, but it was pushed by a social justice initiative. And you have to wonder too, like, why are we pushing all this pressure on kids to become involved in something that affects them? They keep saying, oh, this affects their education, but we are also, as Board of Ed members, we have influence over these kids. And I mentioned too on my X account that we are the ones who make final judgments on HIBs, harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases, which gives you a certain measure of a power dynamic over a potential voter. And that's a permanent record on a child's record, educational record. So there's things that just concern me. Like, why would we put that position? Why would we put any child in that position? Or, we help advocate for IEP children. And so we're in constant, negotiations or in due process with parents over IEPs and issues like that.
Right.
So it's just an interesting, it's a very direct conflict. I feel like, for me personally, I think it's a really, I'm the person too. I'm the person who's handing out awards to these kids and going to their basketball games and their football games and their plays and their band concerts. And all of a sudden to look at it like, obviously it's a different case when it's adults. Yes, you get it when you're out in public and this is your voting demographic. But for kids, I think it just pollutes the relationship a lot. So I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan of any of this. I don't know why it's necessary.
Well, it's also, a poor substitute for actually helping kids understand the system in which they're going to participate eventually as adults, right? Because Phil Murphy is presenting this as, a way to engage kids in democracy is to get them involved directly in democracy as soon as possible. Well, how about you teach them something about their republic? I found an Annenberg University survey. Annenberg's over in Pennsylvania, for those who don't know, where they looked at American adults with at least some high school education, right? So these are, for all intents and purposes, high school educated kids, the 16 and 17-year-olds that would be voting in these elections, and ask them questions about their government and how it functions. And, some of the results are not going to surprise you at all, Jackie. And I know they didn't surprise me. They depress me. Here's some of the highlights. Less than 50% could name all three branches of government. The number of respondents that could unprompted name each of the 5 freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment, 1 in 4. Only 24%, for example, could name freedom of religion as being implicated by the First Amendment. Over 50% incorrectly asserted that Facebook was required to let all Americans express themselves freely. Regardless of whether we think they should, they didn't understand the distinction between the public square and the private square, and the fact that Facebook is a private company and the First Amendment largely restricts the government, right? It's just, and it goes on from there. Absolutely stunning numbers, but not a surprise to anyone that's been watching the way our public discourse has been going in recent years. These kids are not ready. We should be focusing on teaching them about their country before they take the reins of their country.
No, I agree. And, it's a very easy fix if anybody really had an authentic agenda towards getting kids civically engaged. It's a very easy fix. The entire administration is very willing to add on to the learning standards. We have new learning standards for Greek education. We have new learning standards for the sex and health ed education. But this is a very easy fix. Make some new standards for civic education. And, we have in Middletown, I can just tell you, we try very hard to give the kids a say. We have school forums with our superintendent to let the kids have a voice and to kind of vote or advocate for things that matter to them. But we're talking about things like seniors being able to go out and get their lunch at lunchtime. We're not talking about being able to manage or vote on, a $180 million budget. I mean, it's like no baby steps. They went right from 0 to 100 on civic engagement and making children adults in school systems, and it's disturbing.
I think it's the story of our time, right? It really, I think, encapsulates a lot of what you deal with as a school board member. And by the way, we're speaking to Jacqueline Tobacco, who's vice president of the Middletown Board of Education. Adults in this country don't have enough rights, and kids, they're trying to give them too many. Right? Parents should be empowered. Adults should be empowered. Property taxpayers should be empowered to have the prime lead role in how their locality, their state, their nation is run. But kids, we don't do enough to protect them and to teach them. We use them as political tools. And I think that's what's most disturbing about all this at the end of the day, Jackie, that this is an effort to manipulate children and to use them to bring about a political lens. They're not actually educating them. They want to use them once again to perpetrate their political agenda. And we, as ever, appreciate you being one of the good ones that's willing to speak out against it. And for anybody that wants to follow Jackie, if you like what you hear, and we suspect you do, you can find her over on X at Jax, Jax 1331. That's Jax 1331 over on X. You can follow along, not just to see what's going on in Middletown, where Phil Murphy's mansion sits, which it's lovely that Phil Murphy's mansion is in a red town where the local government and the school board is constantly pushing for the right kind of common sense agendas that run contrary to his own. But she's always opining on things that are happening at the state and national level and really giving some good local common sense perspective. So we always appreciate what you do. And we know you won't be a stranger. We won't let you be a stranger, but definitely come back soon, because I have a feeling this is going to be another busy year.
I think so. Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate it. And I love to be able to converse with you about all kinds of different subjects. I really do appreciate it.
The feeling is mutual. Sometimes I wish we had less to talk about, because that would mean the
Me
world
too.
was more sane, but these are not the times in which we live. Be well, my friend. Jacqueline Tobacco,
Thank you.
everyone. Vice President of the Middletown, New Jersey Board of Education. Henry, did that sway you one way or the other, that discussion?
Yeah, I was pro students having the power, because I was the same way in high school. I wanted more power than I could have as a student, and maybe as a school board vote would help that. But yeah, it's once you're talking about budgets and stuff, because eventually you could just, they'd just make it like politics. You could pair like the whole, like, I'm gonna put Kool-Aid in the water fountains. You could start running on that for the school board if you think that's gonna it's gonna help you win.
Yeah. I remember when I was in high school, I think I ran for like school treasurer or something like that. Because when you have glasses, you run to be treasurer, right? That's just,
Right.
It's the appropriate thing. I
Yeah.
think it's actually in like the Constitution. And my big campaign promise was that I was going to fix the Simpsons video game, the arcade game that was in our cafeteria. Now, for any of you who are in my age range, that was like the arcade game for a long time. It's still a great arcade game. It holds up. I haven't seen it recently, but my kids also aren't really at the arcade age yet.
What was it? Was it like hit and run?
No, it was just you could play as Bart, Marge, Homer, or I think maybe Lisa.
No, Maggie.
I don't think you could play as Maggie. I think Maggie was like a bonus character that she would like come out if you got enough points to help you. And I think ultimately you were battling with Sideshow Bob. Yeah. But it was a great video game, and we had it in our cafeteria, and you couldn't play as Homer. So I promised to fix it. So you could play as Homer. That's the kind of consequential thing that I was worried about at, age 16, 17.
I was a big campaigner on a breakfast in the morning.
Yes.
They wouldn't give us that. And I was like, I know you can. I went to a different school where they had it. It's the same company doing breakfast here.
Right. So there is the opportunity to learn about the things you need to learn about in high school without, as you were mentioning a minute ago, turning kids loose on a, 9-figure budget and passing judgment on things that, hey, let's face it, even adults have difficulty engaging maturely and productively in this current environment. So, look, ultimately what rubs me the wrong way here, and Jackie didn't just hint at this, she came right out and said it, it's the motivation, right? We all know why they're doing this. Phil Murphy doesn't care about kids learning more about their democracy by participating in it. They know for issues like quote unquote trans rights, obviously the younger you are, the more strongly you feel in the opposite direction than someone like yours truly, right? Kids are young, they're emotional, they haven't thought all this stuff out yet. In their experience, why shouldn't there be 57 different varieties of gender, right? So Phil Murphy knows that his agenda is more appealing to younger New Jerseyans, which in of itself should tell you something about the quality of the left's positions. And I've made this comment before, there's a reason why the tobacco companies used to target young people, because what kind of adult with their head screwed on properly is going to stick a flaming stick of tar in their mouth for fun? Like, it's not something that you would develop a taste for at 50. They have to get you when you're 16, when it's kind of cool and edgy and different and rebellious. The left is the same way. Leftism is a cigarette, right? And believing in things like 57 genders and that, Israel is awful and all these other crazy things, right? That's something that may be appealing to someone when they're 16, when they still don't know a whole heck of a lot. It's not something you can sell to a right-thinking 50-year-old man or woman. So this issue in of itself should convince any of you who are still on the fence about this that the left's ideas are miserable and don't hold up under their own power. If their ideas did hold up under their own power, they wouldn't need to try to manipulate children to be the bulwark, to be the vanguard of their movement.
I also like how you said the tobacco companies used to target kids.
Well,
they definitely do more than ever now. Target kids,
right? So you know what I mean when I say
I
that.
do.
They used to not have to be, kind of surreptitious about it.
Yeah.
With Joe Camel and
Yeah,
the
make it look
Marlboro
cool.
Man, and now they have to like put like in giant print, like, hey, these things are gonna.
They don't even have to have commercials. It's like it's fruit, and it'll give you a fleeting moment of high, and that's like I'm in.
Yes, that's
all
right.
you need.
That's right. And I also think, I do think even though they're still doing what they do, kids are falling for it less. I think that has something to do with marijuana, though, too.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. Like,
Marijuana is replacing cigarettes and alcohol for Gen
totally.
Z.
I bet you. I bet young people out there know someone who just has like a dab cart and just uses it incessantly to the point they're at their school, they're fried all day. You know the people that do it, and it's just it just becomes so much more easier and so much more stealth. Like, why not?
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. So, that's what I have to say about all that, folks. 16-year-olds voting in elections doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to me. And, we will have Jackie back at some point to talk about some of the other issues percolating. She mentioned that her school board's involved in a lawsuit with the Murphy administration. I've covered that before. We have to expound on that at some time in the near future. But for now, I'll tell you what time it is. We have to play some ads and make some money because we are capitalists around here at 1210 WPHT. So quick break, and then we'll be back to close out the program in a sec.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans directly, and recycle old clothes by donating them. When we each share one, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your thing?
Down on new at Bob's Discount Furniture. So happy new year! I've got new styles like my Dylan Sectional, new ways to recharge with my Tuxedo Motion sofa, new mattresses for a new lease on life, new colors and new everyday low prices. My Calvin bedroom is just $7.99. I've even got a new look. Wait, you can't see what I'm wearing? Ah, schnickel Fritz. When you can have a new year for less, there's only one thing to say. Oh, my Bob!
Bob's Discount Furniture.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. This new year, make some resolutions that will improve the environment. Resolve to use less gas in your car. You can carpool to work a couple of days a week. Use public transportation like buses or trains. Combine errands to make fewer trips. And take a walk for any distances of a mile or less. And think about an electric car when looking for your next vehicle. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, a million things for our planet. What's your one thing? Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. This new year, make some resolutions that will improve the environment. Resolve to use less gas in your car. You can carpool to work a couple of days a week. Use public transportation like buses or trains. Combine errands to make fewer trips. And take a walk for any distances of a mile or less. And think about an electric car when looking for your next vehicle. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, or back that won't go away? Check out QC Kinetics. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. QC Kinetics, 215-999-3000.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans directly, and recycle old clothes by donating them. When we each share one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing? Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. This year, resolve to use less gas. You can carpool to work a few days a week and walk any distance under a mile. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Now the party is over. Are you left thinking, will the new year bring new opportunities? Or just the same old questions? Familiar patterns? Missed opportunities? At California Psychics, we can help you start the new year with your sights firmly on new horizons. Whatever your goals and unique life situation, our psychics will surprise you with their ability to offer unique insight that'll help you move forward. We only connect you with the very best. It's why 98% of the psychics who apply to work with us don't make the grade, and why we can guarantee If your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. Download the app or connect with us at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Right now, new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. A new you awaits. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Hey, Southampton. We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
I started out tonight's show, Henry, by telling you why Republicans were sticking with Donald Trump as we celebrate Iowa Caucus Eve. Now, let me tell you on the way out the door tonight why Americans generally, not just Republicans, are leaning in the Donald's direction as we begin this process. This is the Fearmonger of the Week award. Biden campaign advisor Malcolm Kenyatta, who, well, I'm just going to let what he had to say speak for itself. This is cut 7.
Yeah, give me a second here. I think I lost it here.
No problem, my man.
I know I had it here. Here it is. Okay.
It's literally about whether we have elections. This is the same crew that is actively trying to put Donald Trump in jail and disqualify him from ballots across the country so they can have an uncontested election.
Didn't this guy get convicted of a crime here in Philly?
Who, Kenyatta?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure he did.
We'll have to research that for next week. I don't know if you can figure that out in the time allowed. But, I mean, look, this is the point, though, right? So the Biden administration does not have a message heading into November. It's just orange man bad all over again. But this guy is right, just in the wrong way. It is about whether we're going to continue to have elections in this country because they're trying to create a one-party system. That's what they're endeavoring to do. Whether it's their legal crusade, their political lawfare they're waging against Donald Trump, whether it's letting 16-year-olds vote, it all serves the same ends. So go into this election cycle, which starts tomorrow in earnest, with eyes wide open, folks. This is your pal, Matt Rooney. Thank you for joining us once again on 1210 WPHT for another edition of The Matt Rooney Show. We'll see you again next week.
Attention taxpayers. If you or your business owe the IRS back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, the IRS has greenlighted billions of dollars in tax relief to those facing financial hardship through its tax relief initiatives. If you have a delinquent tax problem and possibly facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or already in a payment plan, you may now qualify for significant relief. Qualifying and enrolling in this program could stop all collections, settle your tax problem, and may even